Everybody's attention. Welcome to the first workshop of 2026 for us. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Malloy.
Here.
Mr. Hernandez.
Here.
Mr. Bernard.
Here. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Avery Price. She's a student out at Badger High School, and she's here for a government class. She's a 4-H student, so she's been to the commissioners meeting before out at the fair, and I'd just like to recognize her. She's going to sit here and observe our meeting, and then at the end, she would like to get a picture. Three commissioners. Okay.
Avery, what part of 4-H are you in?
I show animals, so I exhibit lambs and pigs at the fair.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
How'd you do last year?
Okay. My sister did a lot better than me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
She'll rub that and remind you that the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to have a little different format this year. We've decided that we're going to change up a little bit on how we conduct the workshops. So this time, Madam Clerk.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read down the agenda. As I said in the memo yesterday that I sent out to everyone. And I'm going to summarize things. Okay, so item number 1 is to just dispense with reading the minutes and accept and approve the video recordings. Item 2 is to approve the bills. Item 3. This item to conform the boundaries of the city of Niles with the 31.3801 acres of property annexed by the city of Niles in 2024. This was submitted to me about almost a month ago from the city of Niles. They weren't quite sure of the process themselves, nor was I, so I gave it to Attorney Danzo to review. And he came back with, this is what we need to do, this language needs to be adopted by the commission. So it's more of like a final step.
Yeah, Bill Danzo, prosecutor's office, just to add on to that, I appreciate that. This is a result of that big annexation. It was sort of contentious that happened a couple of years ago. And they went through the whole thing. It was an annexation agreement ultimately, but this is the final step. If you recall, it's been a while back, there were some residents that were questioning why they were getting charged property taxes for both the township and the city. And that's because of the confirmation of boundaries here. Once this is adopted and it's something commissioners have to approve when the city petitions for it, they have to notify the townships. They've done so. And what this does is essentially conforms the boundaries of the city to match that newly annexed territory, which will remove as I understand it, at least remove the township taxation from these individuals living in this district and leave them only with the city taxation. But it will still be subject to the fees and the tax sharing that's set forth in the annexation agreement. So this is really just sort of a formality for the board, but I just want to give you a little bit of a background on what it actually is and why we're doing that.
It actually makes sense. I mean, why would you have to pay taxes on township and city?
Well, there's a few areas in the county
It's
where
like a border.
for example, the village of Newton Falls has never done this conforming of boundaries with Newton Township. So there are people that pay cemetery levies for the township and also the city taxes in the village of Newton Falls. So there are some areas where this isn't done for whatever reason. I don't know exactly why, but in this case, the city of Niles wanted to do it, and that's what this one is.
Thank you, Bill.
Any questions? No? Okay, item 4 is a routine liquor transfer. Whenever these come in, commissioners, I always ask the sheriff's department to check out with the tenant if there's any problem with this location or anything before I put this on the agenda, just so you know. Okay, items 5 through 7 are the county engineers. 6 and 7 are just routine permits, but I don't know, Gary, do you want to speak to item 5 or?
Yeah, number 5, annually, we certify our road mileage. Again, this year it's unchanged. I think last time we had a minor change of 1/1000 of a mile back in 22. Certifying the mileage, and then we also oversee all the township mileage too, and those certifications, which will come also.
Okay, then with regards to the permits, anybody have any questions about those? Okay, item 8 is a report, activities report from the dog kennel. Normally I get a whole month's worth, but I only got 2 weeks, the first half, so I did put that on here and make note of that on here. Okay, 9 through what? 12? Planning Commission, I'll let Nick take those.
Okay. Nick Coggins from County Planning Commission, number 9. This is a letter of support. There's a relative grant called a Residential Economic Development District. The city of Niles, in partnership with JRD Holdings, is going to go after properties owned by JRD. They are asking for a letter of support for that grant. Part of this is contingent on a type 1 expedited annexation of properties in Howland and Weathersfield. Weathersfield has already provided a letter of support. Howland is double checking with their annexation attorney to make sure that the new language passed last April allows them to do this the way that they want to do it. And they do have a letter of support drafted that they are going to be in support of this project so long as their attorney says yes. So in here, this letter of support, which we've already provided for you, is contingent upon that cooperative agreement. So at this time, we're basically waiting for Howland's attorney to say, yeah, you can do it the way you want, and everybody's going to sign off. But this letter of support will help Niles and JRD Holdings get this new grant. It helps pay for infrastructure improvements for specifically for residential new residential developments. Yes.
So Nick, how much is the grant for?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I can find that out for you. I believe it's several $100,000 to help pay for the road, sewer, water. One of the requirements, which is why they're doing the annexation, is that the community has to have development-friendly zoning, which Niles has already adopted certain parts of that from that section of the revised code for this grant. So getting that annexation gets them in the city of Niles, makes the whole property qualify based on that development-friendly zoning.
This was presented to us commissioners at that last Valley Vision meeting we had over at the Veteran Services Center. They gave a presentation of this at the end of that meeting of what it is. It was supported by the chamber and all the entities in there that are putting housing first to try to solve our housing crunch we have here in the valley.
JRD, Delabelli, who is that?
That would be Alva Valley Real Estate is. Any other questions on number 9? All right, number 10 is to authorize Commissioner Bernard to execute any and all required documents related to grant application process. This is something we do annually, especially with the rotation of the presidents of the board. You are the authorized signatory on all of our grants. So there's a list of open grants or ongoing grants or grant applications that have already been approved by the commissioners. This is just a formality, making sure that you are the registered authorized signature with all of the grants. Number 11, again, this is something we do annually. Authorized Board of Commissioners and the President were noted to review, approve, and sign Ohio Department of Development Security Roles Assignment. They have a software that we use for all of our grants through the state, and we have to update the security roles annually. And again, make sure that the actual president is the authorized final signatory for all grants through the state. And the last is to approve the authorized signature card for request for payment for status funds. So when we are doing these grants and we submit for the reimbursement, because all these grants are on a reimbursement basis, we all have to be approved on that signature card to be authorized to draw down. Again, we have to update this annually just in case there's change in point. Security goals, things like that. So 11 and 12 are fairly routine. They both deal with the state grants that we receive, allow the proper authorized signatory and allow all the people listed to be eligible to request reimbursements for those grants for money spent.
Good, Nick, while you're there,
Yes,
do
sir.
you have any status update for us on the $92,000 we put up that's was gonna be reimbursed for the road project in Island?
So the True Minds Road State Route 46 project, we went through the TID. So that project is currently under the estimated revenue. So there is $94,000 commissioners pledged as match. As it stands right now, we are looking like we're probably not going to touch any of that money. Hopefully, as we gave an update at the last TID meeting, that project is fully complete. We did our ribbon cutting with the exception of permanent striping. Based on the weather conditions, by the time the project was finished, they can only put down the temporary striping. So that grant is still open. As soon as the weather breaks and they put down the permanent striping, we'll do that. We'll make our final payment and save any additional change orders. Looks like we're going to be under budget and we'll be able to give that money back to the commissioners. And thank you very much for pledging the match. We also have several other TID grants that we're probably going to be asking you for that money back again. So I know you guys have your plans for it, but we're also going to be asking for additional monies for match for other grants that we go after.
Well, yeah, I think there's already a plan in place for that money. County engineers here, you can maybe speak on that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have an important project that's taking place in Champion Township, and that is the Mercy Health Emergency Center. And Educational Highway is a big issue, as well as a bridge on Educational Highway that needs to be replaced early because we don't want to replace it when it's ready to be replaced, which is in about 5 years. We don't want to replace it then because it would require the closure of that road to do so. And we don't want to close that road once the emergency room opens. So we're going to be asking for that TID money to be used on that bridge. And then we've got a road that needs resurfaced, Educational Highway and Research Parkway Boulevard. So yes, Mr. Chairman, those are two very important projects. I know for you as well. You've been working on that very diligently with me. And so, yes, we will be asking the TID for that money.
But the TID will be asking the commissioners we're going to give it back to you and then ask for it
Yeah.
for other projects.
Thank you for allowing.
Well, the important thing is it's on our radar. We know it. Educational highway.
Yes. And it's going to take money.
I have a question about that too. Is that the only access that we're gonna have to that facility? Can't we get something off of?
There's actually two accesses. One is Educational Highway, and the other is Research Parkway. Problem with that is if you direct the all traffic to Research Parkway, it's going to add time to the trips for the ambulances to arrive at the emergency room, which is never something that ER people want to see is significant time added to their trips. So there are two methods of arriving at the ER room. It's just Educational Highway is right off of State Route 45, which is right off the interchange, and that's the preferred route that they'll be using. But there'll be a route off of Champion Avenue, and that's Research. That's Research Park.
There's no way
Be nice to
they can
right
just get off the interstate and then loop right along the interstate back in, not have to go through a light and go through another light.
That's what I was.
I mean,
And
it could be 3 minutes.
Mr.
later.
Bernard brought that to me at least a year ago, and the issue is with ODOT. And I can understand their issue because to have another exit off of the off the highway.
Ambulance only or
That-
something?
yeah.
Emergency vehicle only?
We discussed that, and exit only. Make sure that there's no way to get back on that way to prohibit traffic from going in the wrong direction. On the bypass, but we may talk more to ODOT. Right now, it's something that they're not going to approve, but yeah, that's for further discussion. Hopefully we can change the minds.
I just worry if you got ambulances flying down there and then you got all the kids coming in and out of class. We already had one death there years ago. If you remember a student on Educational Highway and hit a curb weird, the car flipped and the student died. And for that to happen right there, you know, when kids are coming in and out of school and TCTC at the other end, it's like we're asking for disaster to put flying ambulances with school kids.
And
On the
ODOT
same
would
road.
probably tell you that you're only asking for disasters to put an exit that close to another exit. That's probably what they would tell you. But, you know.
I think we all agree that we need an exit there.
Yeah.
It's just getting the state to approve it and maybe once they do see the hospital going up, the emergency room, and then we have the hospital going up there, it's just it just makes sense to us, okay? That.
Yes, and there's some thoughts that I have that, I mean, it would include having an exit further away from 45. And then you may have to have a service road from the exit to the hospital. So, I mean, it'd be a little more involved than just an exit ramp. It involve a ramp, off ramp, and a service road. And that has to be discussed with ODOT. I mean, we're way too early to have those discussions, you know, at a commissioner meeting because I don't have the answers. But those are some things that we can look at.
I suppose we're gonna have to see how this all works out, you know, once this all gels, it comes together to see
And then
how that, if there is an
get
issue,
our
then
state senators and our
we may
state
have-
reps involved with it too.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I can coordinate some meetings with you, Mr. Chairman, or with all three commissioners and with ODOT and see if it's something that they'll entertain, but
Just let them know it's on our radar.
it's probably something that they'll want at least matching funds, if not all. You know, a service road would probably be a private road. I mean, a public road, but not an ODOT road. If you have an exit ramp to a service road so that you don't have to have the ramp so close to 45 to directly get into the hospital. If it's further away from the interstate interchange to a service road that takes you to the hospital, there'd be funding involved in that too. So it's a little early to have detailed conversations, but those are generalities that I think we can start some conversation with. Tony.
Thanks.
I'm gonna move on to item 13. To approve the purchase of a surplus 2016 Ford Explorer K9 Cruiser from the Warren Police Department in the amount of $2,000. Shara, want to speak to that?
Yes, this is actually a surplus vehicle from the city of Warren. It's already marked. It has a lot of operational items already in place. We just have to restripe it. The vehicle cost is $2,000 to have an extra vehicle, if you will. If the K9 unit is down, they can't have the dog in service. That dog cannot ride in a regular police unit. So it's something that needs to be, and for us to have an extra one for $4,100.
It's a great
It's
deal.
It's a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
So
You're not gonna find that vehicle for $2,000 anymore.
no, you're not. And it's been checked out fully by our vehicle maintenance and to be found to be a very safe unit. So that's my recommendation. We do have Lieutenant Keynes here if anybody has any specific questions.
It runs and shifts.
Yeah.
There you go.
As long as it runs and shifts.
Yeah, and that way the canine unit will never be down. They'll have that extra one to come back and forth.
Thank you.
Okay, item 14, authorize the Board of Commissioners to pay Neo Ride membership dues in the amount of $1,000 for calendar year 2026. Mr. Salamone is not available today.
Commissioners, I have a question about this because we really don't know what direction we're gonna go right now with transportation. And if we get locked into an agreement here, just because Salamone had initiated it, and it's $1,000, but if we go, I don't know what route we're gonna choose to
I
go.
don't think this is an
Is this senior
agreement.
services?
This is just paying membership dues, and right now we're using the I mean, they cut us off right now while somebody's still there for 3 months. We don't pay our dues.
Well, when does it cease? When is it?
It says for calendar year 2026. So we're probably into it. And I know we are using that 800 NeoRide phone number right now and probably will continue when Mike's gone. I wouldn't want them to cut us off from the access to that 800 number.
I mean, do you think they will? I mean,
Maybe if we're not a dues paying
do
member,
you think
why
we're
would they
gonna
keep
use
us?
it? That's my question. I don't know what direction we're gonna go. We do have to discuss that.
We may
It's
not
only
use it after
$1,000.
March, but if we need to use it until March, I think $1,000 investment's good.
My suggestion would be maybe the clerk can reach out to see if we need to pass this tomorrow, or if we can hold off on it till we get those answers.
Yeah, until we find out whether we're gonna need it or not, but,
You do that?
unless,
Yeah, and if we have to do it, we have to do it, but we can get your
Okay.
answer. Your
I would agree with that.
You could reach out, find out.
Item 15, I saw Gary Tamiri just walk out of here for a minute, but I meant to put this on the reorg yesterday, commissioners. It's just a request to advertise for the public hearings that are needed to consider proposed revisions to the Trumbull County Erosion and Sediment Control Rules and Trumbull County Drainage Manual. I don't know if he was he gonna speak to that at all or not really?
We can come back to it.
Okay,
Lisa, does this involve,
there are 2 public hearings for this. They're set right now for January 28th and February 4th at 1 p.m. Those are Wednesdays.
what I was bringing up is, previously we had somebody that handled drainage districts. Does this involve that at all, or is this a separate thing?
I really can't answer that, Commissioner.
And we can wait for Gary, or you can, Bill, address the drainage district
Bill
issue.
Ganso, prosecutor's office, this doesn't relate to drainage districts in the sense that we have dealt with them in the past. It relates to drainage and that relates to the erosion and sediment control rules that kind of have to do with the drainage, but it's not really, this doesn't have anything to do really with the creation of the drainage districts or anything like that. Those are more of a statutory thing, the way we've done them here in our county. This is, the erosion and sediment control manual is something that the engineer's office and soil and water conservation district primarily work on to kind of ensure that the nuts and bolts of any sort of development, construction. I see Gary's back. I'll maybe invite him to weigh in on the nuts and bolts because that's kind of more of their share.
Yeah. Yeah, we just, we updated the drainage manual. There's really not a lot of changes. We just,
Gary, did you give your name, please?
yes, Gary Tenary with the Trumbull County Engineers Office. We updated the drainage manual. The EPA changed its requirements for water quality volume. So we got that in, we updated that part, and then there were a lot of information and figures and drawings in there that were really old, that really weren't used anymore. So we just did some of that. The requirements basically stayed the same. And then soil and water updated their part of the manual too. There's 2 parts to the manual. The water quality and quantity, the stormwater management is the engineer section, and then there's a section for soil and erosion control. So it's just basically an update of the manual, bringing it up to date with EPA's requirements.
And to add to that, the current manual, they commingle the duties and responsibilities of the county engineer and the Trumbull County Soil and Erosion. I can't think of the Trumbull County. Yes, we'll just use that. Anyways, what we did is we made it clear in the document who's responsible for what. Because before it was just difficult to see who was responsible for certain elements of the document. We made it a lot more clear. Trumbull County Soil and Water Conservation District.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. It'll come to me. So yeah, it's much clearer now. Gary did a great job making it much clearer for everyone to understand.
And we did it in cooperation with the Soil and Water District for Marcus. The drainage districts is another item which we'll be having some comments on with the planning commission. That's part of the planning, the subdivision regulations, and we've been in touch with the planning commission to get that revised. We'll work with Bill. That'll be coming soon.
Okay, item 16 and 17, commissioners actually have to do with your first speakers from CCAO and Palmer, correct? Palmer and
John.
I don't know if you want to have them speak to these items
Sure.
or we do need to finalize some of the language
Or which part?
for both of these items.
Yeah, I think primarily Bill Danso, prosecutor's office. I think primarily the what's number 17 on our agenda is the authorization to enter into the governmental agreement and how that's going to be worded and who the board wants to authorize to sign that portion. I think that we are a little bit more clear on the amendment to the aggregation plan, but I think the commissioner certainly probably wouldn't mind an explanation of that too, if you guys want to do that.
We would be happy to do that. We are here today, Kirk's handing out basically the results from the RFP we sent out for your county residential. Oh, I'm sorry. Sean Lights representing the County Commissioners Association. Yes, that's what I say.
Semi-retired.
Semi-retired. I'm no longer assistant director. I just kind of work there. Kind of. So we have the RFP results for the natural gas residential aggregation program, which Kirk will go through with you. There are several responses. We have a recommendation based on the contract and supplier you choose to go with tomorrow. Then the next step will be a refresh of the pricing with them, and that will be probably, it will be maybe even Wednesday for Kirk or next week. It'll be it'll be Wednesday.
I'll explain what's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow already. Oh, that's actually, okay, all right, so I will yield to Kirk.
Thanks. Can I go over this first before I talk about your questions? First off, Chair, Kirk Mazarek, I'm representing the County Commissioners of Ohio, so I'm one of the owners of Palmer. Your staff has been wonderful to work with on this, and let me also say, from your prosecutor's office, Mr. Danzo has been great to see it, and it's been nice to get responses in a timely fashion. So we're concentrating today on a 36-month term. We obviously put it out for RFP. We got the results back. Right now, as of close on Friday, the price would be for a 36-month term, 4.93 cents per MCF on that. Now, I need to say positively, the market has gone down significantly over the last couple of days. That doesn't mean that 3 years out, the market's gone down. What they do is they wait hog it out with the usage for over 3 years to figure out what the price has been. So the price, if we do transact in the next couple of days, should be lower than the 493 that we're witnessing here. That's the first thing I do want to say. But we have to transact by January 15th in order to not lose any flow to your participating constituents. The reason I'd like to do it tomorrow in particular is I don't like to wait till the last minute. If you tell me we have to go on January 15th, well, then we don't have a choice. If something miraculously crazy happens today, the market goes crazy overnight, we can still say no tomorrow and maybe do it another couple of days. It gives us a week to transact on that pricing structure. But it's very important to give us that week in case something does happen. So that's one thing we do need to address on getting that taken care of. And I think that's what Mr. Danzo is also saying. Historically, it's in the best interest of the county if you say, give the authority to one person to sign this agreement. We usually get the information and another write-up for you in the 12 to 1 time frame. It's not based on me, it's based on when we actually get the information from the suppliers. And we need a signed agreement back within an hour or two. And this is not negative on AEP because they're the contractor that we
think is the best supplier for you in this, is until they have the signed contract, their price is, if the market goes up crazily, they can then say, nope, that contract's not good. That's why you have to get it immediately. You can't wait 24 hours. You can't wait 36 hours. You have to do it immediately. So that's an important part of this. To give you an idea, I know the last deal that you had was a 4-year deal at $3.99 per MCF. This is obviously $4.93, which is the higher price. If you look at the market from when you signed it last time, the market's somewhere around 70 cents higher. The market itself is 70 cents higher from that time frame. And then in addition to the actual price market of the commodity itself, there's something called basis. And that's what the suppliers add on to that number to get to your final number. That number is up somewhere between 30 to 50 cents over that time period as well. So to come in here and be less than $1 higher right now, I think that is a really good position for the county to put their constituents in. As always, one thing I always like to stress is your constituents, it's the same process. They get the mailers, they participate automatically. But once they're in the program, if they want to get out, there is a zero termination fee to get out of the program if they feel that they need it to do their own thing.
That was my next question. So there is an opt-out without charge.
Correct. Always. We feel very strongly about that. And though we're not talking about electricity today, the same will go through your electricity aggregation when we provide those numbers to you as well. But that's an important part of this whole process. If you go to the second page, it just shows you a quick little breakdown of the numbers that we're seeing out there currently. And if you look at the numbers, and let me just concentrate on AP 12, 24, and 36. The reason that we're seeing the 15-cent premium to go for a 3-year deal versus a 12-month deal, I think that's a positive to go the longer term because everything that we're seeing out there right now, long term does indicate that the market is continuing to tighten up and the prices over this term are more likely to rise. So that's why we think it's smarter just to take that 15-cent premium and do the whole term. Secondly is, most of your constituents obviously use their natural gas in the winter months when they're heating their load. Historically, the summer months are pricing or, lower prices and everything, but they're not using as much. So just keep that in mind when you're signing on to this deal on it, that the summer pricing doesn't really give a true picture of when they use the energy. So they're using the energy generally October through April months when obviously their heating loads are the ones that are driving factor on this. Going on to probably the last page is the next thing I want to get into before I talk about Mr. Gaines. These are the included communities in this process at this point. The reason I have 2 communities highlighted, Newton and Village of Lordstown. Newton Township did sign something with PCO that they're trying to go off on their own. Now, my understanding of what I've come across, and we talked to both Alex and Shara about it, is that it was passed countywide. I don't believe it was passed in Newton Township to do their own thing, so they can't go off on their own if they didn't pass it on their own. Mr. Denzel, you can comment on it later on or now, but you passed it countywide many years ago, so they were included in this. Now, unless they, and I'm not aware of it, unless they passed it on their own at some point, I don't know why they could do this on. They could do it on their own if they went and passed it on their own. So I think I need some clarification fairly quickly on that, just to make sure that they should be included.
I will say, Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office, I am not sure about the history of Newton Township on that. We do represent the townships. They've got their own legal counsel, so I don't know. We have not been involved in anything out there with it. We'd have to check basically to see whether they have enacted their own or whether I don't know if we have any record that they would have opted out years ago when the county did its program. I'm not aware of anything like that, but.
Right. Right. So that's just a point of clarification on it. And the Village of Lordstown is supposedly doing their own thing as well. So they weren't included in this as well. From those perspectives, everybody else in the top is included, including Newton Township at this point. So that's just something that I think it's important to figure out. We can always add Lordstown later on to this agreement if they want to, participate in the program, but for this particular point, Newton Township is included because we've only seen that you guys passed this so many years ago as a countywide ballot, not them individually passing.
So according to this does not, just for the records, we had an email this week about that from a resident in Cortland. This does not include the city of Cortland.
Nope.
Does not include the city of Warren, does not include the city of Girard, does not include the city of Hubbard. But it does include the city of Niles, and then the rest of them are townships.
Right.
And it also does not include Liberty Township, which does their own thing.
Correct.
So that's the same as it's been with past providers, except for this new township thing we need to clarify.
Now, you don't think that, could it be that Newton Township and the village of Lordstown is hooking up with a different supplier?
Well, even if they were, I mean, which could be their right at some level, if they've never passed government aggregation in their township properly, I don't see how they can do it on their own. You passed it as the county commissioners many years ago, which included their township, but you passed it. They never put it on their own docket to pass.
So somewhere along the line, I guess this is pre us, there was something in the whole county on the ballot where the county voted, said they wanted to enroll in
As the
aggregation.
county commissioners, correct. So I don't know how they go off on their own without them putting on the ballot.
So Cortland would have done the same, or Niles would, or I'm sorry,
Well,
Warren would have done the same on their own ballot
They're
initiative.
incorporated.
Do it on their own.
They're incorporated, yeah, they would have had to do their own things anyway. So, but the townships themselves fall underneath your purview, obviously. So that's where I'm a little bit confused here. But we did,
Yeah, when the commissioners put it on the ballot, it's for unincorporated territory of the county only. So that would be your program. You can have other communities that have also passed it on a separate vote, choose to join your program, and programs can be merged. But
So if Cortland or Warren or Lordstown wanted to come on with us,
Yeah.
that's the road's paid for them to do that
as
already.
long as they
Yeah.
authorize the vote.
and if you need me to go meet with them individually, I'm happy to do that. Historically, and this happens in a lot of counties, we're doing this all. So what happens is they usually cede the authority directly to you to make decisions for you guys to make the decisions for them. So it does happen frequently. Many counties have a lot of cities.
They would have to opt out of whatever their contract is with whoever they're with.
Well,
And then-
I wouldn't say opt out of their existing agreement. I would never get out of this agreement. There's too many ramifications to that. I don't do. But if they could join at their next point when they're done from that perspective.
would they come in at the same rate the rest of our townships are, or would they come in at the rate
Depends on the
whatever it is that day?
It's whatever the market's at that day. So
So just for clarification, so for Newton Township to get out, they can't just send the county commissioners a letter saying that they would like to opt out.
No, they
they
can,
can do
they
that.
get out, but they can't do their own
They can't do their
without
own.
a vote of their residents.
Correct.
So if they opt out, so then the residents are out there on their own.
They just don't have an aggregate program.
Correct.
Right.
But they can't, again, if I'm missing something, I don't know that. And Alex, I think you checked this, didn't you?
I just did some research. I pulled the actual ballot language,
Me too.
commissioners, Alex Stephen, John C. Bush, Human Resources Department. I worked with the clerk and the staff in the commissioner's office to pull the actual resolution, what was actually put on the ballot. So the first step was that it came to the board of commissioners for a resolution to pass to put it onto the ballot. That was our first step. We could see in there who was incorporated, who wasn't incorporated, who would be a part of it, who wasn't part of it. Then after that, I took it a step further and went to the board of elections and actually pulled the ballot language to make sure what the people in this county voted on. So that's kind of what they're trying to explain to you is the people of the county in the time now, albeit a long time ago, I believe it was 2008. Don't quote me on that
I think
date.
it was.
It was
2008. Okay. So I didn't bring anything with me. I apologize. I was prepping for something else. But although it was a long time ago in 2008, nonetheless, the people voted the way they voted, and they voted, with each specific township was included in that vote. So everybody had a chance to vote.
My question is, Newton Township, who did they contact to say that they wanted out?
They did not contact us. We saw that they had filed something at the UCO to go do their own thing. And I don't know if they're legally allowed. I'm not an attorney. That's your side of the
Wait,
equation.
that goes to Mr. Danzo, right?
It would have to be the trustees or council to speak with to see what they exactly they did.
Yeah.
Really, I mean,
But if they didn't pass it, I don't know how they could do it on their own. mean, you guys pass it countywide.
Right.
I called for the meeting in Newton Township trustee and I got a return call meeting here. So
Okay.
we can probably square that up after the meeting
Okay.
of see if they
That's what we
initiated
gotta do.
anything or not.
Just
let
call
me
the
know.
trustee and call the council and see, what did you do? Do you know what you did?
Nonetheless, that's what we're doing is they're included if they want to be. That's on them, I guess. If they're still included until they're not. And if they did opt out somehow, that's on them. If they wanted back in, they could be.
Now, before we go to the next step, I do want to address your concerns on some PCO paperwork.
Sure.
We have already sent to the PCO a notice of material change for the documents you're talking about. And we have also submitted to you, which you've seen, some changes that we want to be submitted to the PCO. We'll need to get those done before your constituents start actually receiving the gas in the March, April timeframe from that perspective. So that is in process. One thing that we do a little bit different than a lot of the other people out there is we make this very autonomous. You're not going to have to, if you choose to get rid of the CCAO after 3 years, you don't need to change it again. The last person, whoever you used, made it so specific that you had to use them. You don't need to do that with the PCO. You use you've read the language. It's very specific, say do whatever you want.
Yeah, it was brought to my attention actually, and I spoke with Bill. You and I discussed that we had to get out of that 1 year period to where, because they were there so long.
Right.
That nobody ever audited the way that language was, and then when it was brought to my attention, I reached out to prosecutor's office and sure enough, we had to tell them that we weren't looking to renew, at least at that period of time, until we made a choice. So, but you're right. But in this case, you don't have a 1 year where, listen, you got to contact a year before you're locked back in, right? You don't have, it's 36 months and.
Right. And this is, again, we made it, the language that we put in front of Mr. Danzo is you could keep this for as long as you wanted to. It's not supplier consultant specific, which we don't believe they should be. You should be able to change whatever you want. You shouldn't have to change the public information every time you switch that consultant. This just doesn't make sense to me. And is that how you read it too from what I sent to you?
Yes. I guess my big thing is, kind of working with Cher on this and again, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office. My concern was that we have that amendment in place and that we get that paperwork done with PUCO so that we are in compliance with their rules as far as having that plan of operation on file, approved, and who was going to do that. So I appreciate you guys for helping out with that. Because traditionally in our county, it's been handled by the person who's done the thing and the program. And by the sound of things now, we probably won't have to keep amending this, time after time, something that can stick.
You have to amend it once more, which you have. Again, we don't want to do that until we get closer to the March, April timeframe. But we did send a notice of material change to that document just to cover the bases from that perspective. Don't know if that was 100% necessary. We did it anyway. And then the other part of this, and we discussed it briefly, is based on we'd really like to sign sooner rather than later. It's just what I'm looking for today is you like the pricing, you're okay with the pricing. If you have any questions on the pricing, please, I'm here. I can get a lot more specific on that if you'd like me to. But I do need you to have one person available in the time frame of 1 to 2 tomorrow, somewhere around that, when we can get to you, and we need to get it back right away. I always emphasize this. When I send it, I need it back right away. If there's a material change in price during that time, the supplier has the right to pull the price and change everything. And I just want to stay away from that if we can. It's just
So if we sign everything tomorrow, we definitely know the price tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so what'll happen is I'll call my guy at the office and say, we want to do it tomorrow. And he'll call the suppliers to get a refresh pricing with the contracts tomorrow, which Mr. Danzo has already approved. And then we'll have them to you as soon as I get them. I will push them right on to, you tell me who to send them to. We'll get them to you in the 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, could be a little bit earlier. It's not usually past 1 o'clock, but I need them back. Can't emphasize enough, it needs to be immediately.
Well, I think you send it to the clerk.
Yeah, and I'm happy to.
And then follow up with a phone call so she knows she has it and we'll be here. And we can designate our
It
president.
doesn't really matter, as long as one of the.
Well, and that,
commissioners does it.
yeah, built in, so prosecutor's office, that was it's gonna be my suggestion is the way that this was written when it came from another subdivision was that it would be signed off by the facilities director, energy manager. Here, we've generally assigned a commissioner who's gonna be available to do it. It's always kind of been my preference to designate either the president of the board or another commissioner by vote. So I think this resolution could be used and maybe just substitute out the facilities director for one of the commissioners who would be available tomorrow to be here to execute that. If all three of you want to do it, that's fine, but it could be one. We do that regularly,
I was
so.
gonna wonder who is the facilities director.
Well, no, so what, Commissioner, what we did on this is,
What's Bill Hart / Daryl?
Was it?
Yeah.
he asked me to give him a sample resolution, what we've done in other areas. There's no ownership here. If you want to put commissioner, you want to put, if it's somebody that you designate from the county, I don't care. Supplier doesn't care, but if you designate
I
it,
think the president.
Well,
yeah,
could we put all three on here?
if you're all gonna be here to
I was gonna
submit,
say, if
you're adding complexity.
We've already voted, the president has the authority to sign things, and in lieu of the president not being there, the vice president's authority to sign them, two of them not being there, the third commissioner, so we've already established that. And
All three, yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's more complex from my perspective. It is perhaps another level of complexity that you don't want to get involved.
we just need to make sure someone's here tomorrow,
That's-
that gets it. and we're-
My suggestion would be that if the president thinks he'll be able to be available for it,
That's
maybe
what I-
designate the president, otherwise maybe designate the vice president if you'd be around. I suggest the same thing. I think one person rather than three would be the smoothest.
We're here tomorrow, so.
It's already designated in case the president isn't here, the vice president can serve it, so we've already did that by resolution, so. But we'll all be here.
Are there any questions about the pricing or the reason for the 3-year term, or is everybody familiar enough with what I put in front of them?
No, it says here, the residents can opt out.
Always.
Can we as a county opt out?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Well, say the prices do drop tremendously, say they get on to $3, and we see that in a year and a half from now. Can we opt out of the program where we locked in with you for 3 years?
Well, no.
Or were we?
You're signing with the supplier for a 3-year deal here. Your constituents who are using the power or the natural gas can all opt out, but you as a county, you're locked in.
So we couldn't do another agri with anyone else till 3 years.
But the important thing is, Commissioner, you're right. The residents can opt out at
Correct.
any time they want.
Yeah.
If they think they can get a better rate, they can do that. And sometimes they can, because if they go with a smaller supplier, but they can't take the county as a whole because we're too large.
And you just have to remember this, the whole feeling of GovAg and what it is most people don't track this on a day-to-day basis. You're protecting the people by getting them pricing that is very competitive, and it's not to say that the price isn't going to drop, but I don't see it dropping in the months significantly that they're using it. I mean, in the summer months, sure, it could be a lot less but they're not using it. But in the months from October through April timeframe, I don't see it dropping a substantial amount.
And we have heard war stories. We've heard good stories of people, even with the electric, where they opted out last year and their prices were good for 6 months. And then they're calling saying, why did I get a bill for $700? Because their introductory rate expired and they didn't read the small print and they were on their own. We've also heard stories of people did a little better. If you're a smart shopper, that's great. But the average person in the middle, like you said, that doesn't follow that stuff, we're protecting that person from that worst case scenario where they get a bill that knocks them off their chair because they didn't do their due
And
diligence.
we're getting some of that now with electric rates. We're getting phone calls from people that are electric rates, that skyrocketed,
They opted out, they went on their own.
That's nothing to do with us. I mean,
And
And
equally, if you can opt out, you can come back too.
Yeah.
So,
and some of those
You can always
residents,
get
some of those residents calls we're getting live in the city of Warren, live in the city of Cortland, and they're blaming us. They're reaching out to us like, why did my rates go up? Call your mayor. I mean, that has nothing to do with commissioners. We can't help the people in Cortland. They're on their own with that.
well, nobody's rates should have gone up because, the new structure doesn't take place till March, correct?
Yeah, that,
For us, yes.
Right.
But I have Sheriff Taylor, Commissioner's Office. Does this include our buildings?
Mhm.
I didn't think so. So we don't have a cost on our buildings yet. It's not up yet, is it?
We did our buildings first, didn't we, Les?
You did electric.
Just electric, we haven't done gas.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
And
So that's,
Ready to do gas, but yeah.
So when will that come up?
I gotta look and see the date. There's too many of these agreements going on. I mean, this is absolutely a conundrum to like maintain. There's this agreement, this agreement, this agreement, and it's just all over the place.
Can we do our buildings at the same time we do this?
Look and see when they expire.
As soon as you give
I
me
wanna say
the,
it's May.
yeah, as soon as you give me the authority to sign or to get that going, that's fine. And I did want to talk about electric ag here in a second too, when we get down to the natural gas portion, but yeah, I can, just like we did electricity.
We might be at May if I'm remembering correctly. There was something we had to do because he found us a better price at one point. And another program found us a better price and they locked us in for a little while. So I gotta see where we are on that.
I'm ready to go whenever you want, if it's May timeframe. Now for your buildings, it's a slightly different time frame for Gov Ag because of all the mailers that have to go out. It's
Right.
much more in advance than
Right.
your buildings, but if you can check on that,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out for you and we'll go from there. As for electric ag, we're gonna be out for bid in probably 3 weeks for that, and I'd say in mid February, I'll be back here somewhere the second, third week of February. I'll be back here with those results from the electric aggregation for your county constituents as well. This was more time consuming right now from your perspective to get this going. Mr. Danzo, if you act just like you did on this last one, I'd love it.
Sure.
You made it wonderful. Thank you. I can't tell you enough of.
Well, we're used to contract reviews and stuff like that, so that's fine. Again, my big concern was just making sure we had all the PUCO paperwork covered and done, and then you guys were helpful.
We're good on that.
And one thing, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, again, I don't want to belabor this, but I do want to point out to the commissioners that in this paper you handed out, I think the important thing here is this number 5 on the second page. And it kind of goes into that, I think last time when we started dealing with this aggregation, there was a lot of discussion about why can't the commissioners get better rates? Why are our rates going up? And just to be clear on it, this sets it out. The commissioners aren't raising rates on gas. They're not setting rates on gas. This, as you said, this aggregation is it's a aggregation to try to get a price that is set across the board for a long period of steady time for the people in Trumbull County. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to be lower than what that momentary price is through the standard choice or through another provider, but it gives people a baseline. And it gives them that baseline if this is passed for 3 years. If people opt out, they can always opt out if they think they can find that better rate. But I think, like I said, I think that's important for people to know and for the commissioners to explain to people is this isn't the commissioners raising rates or putting rates or setting rates even. This is you trying to capture the best market rate at this point that you can for that period of time so that people have that option. And if the trend does keep going up in price, 2 years from now, this is probably going to look like a real good price for people. But it's not locking anybody in. People are still free to shop around if they choose.
I have another question. So John, you said that people can opt out and opt back in.
they can come back in as
So-
long as they're not under contract with.
So
another
once they
supplier.
come back in, what rate do they come back in at?
That right?
Same rate?
I've actually.
So, I mean,
We've had people get out because they're frustrated. They say, I don't want this, and they get out, and then they look, 6 months later, they look at it like, oh my gosh, that rate's a lot better than what's out.
Yeah.
And they get back in.
the only problem with that, usually they sign, but there's probably a penalty for them
You
getting out
Yeah,
there.
they did that.
That's what they have to look at.
Yeah.
But there's no penalty with ours.
0, 0, 0.
Mr. President, John Lights from Commissioners Association. If you get those calls or those questions, please forward them to us because we can help walk them through what's going on. We will make sure, hey, do you have a current contract? Is there funny language? So we can help guide them through, give them the information so they can make a good decision.
Yeah, then let me add to that.
So
We
you
have-
want them to go to you or?
No, we have, and I'll make sure that your staff has this before
Please.
it all goes. But we have a 1-800 number. We have a staff that all she does all day is take questions. When we have hundreds of thousands of customers, there's always questions. And I mean, just based on my experience, they're not usually negative questions. They're more ignorant as they don't understand the process. And once you talk to them about this is what happened, this is what transpired, 99% of the time, they're fine with it. Now, every now and then, you're always gonna have somebody that's going to call and complain, and we all know it just is what it is. But 99% of the time, it's a positive talk, and just, we'll give you the numbers and go from there. Please, we want you to, we don't need your staff taking these calls. Send them on to us. That's why you're paying us.
Sounds good.
We are here to help you guys have to avoid any of this.
I can't
Take care of
stop
it all.
I can't stop them from calling your county number, but you can push them right on to me right away. But
Okay.
I can't stop them from calling you the first call. Please push them right away.
We just need that number.
Yeah, we need the number.
I will get it to you. Don't worry about that.
I'll look up the buildings. Get that handled today. We'll get it started.
Whenever you
you
want.
have that with the other company that the county was with?
Yes,
where
of course.
Push them off to them?
Yes. They addressed it, addressed all those calls.
Which is very helpful because we don't always know every single answer, especially you guys deal with that.
Well, like I said, most of the time it's not a negative word. It's more ignorance on what it is.
Just not knowing how to move.
Okay, so how does that affect agenda item number 16 and 17? Number 16 is electric. Do we need to put that off then until we do the electric and then just do 17 tomorrow?
17's the one that, where we're gonna put Commissioner.
You know what?
Bernard, correct?
The electric aggregation, that's a typo. That should be gas. That's natural gas aggregation. So what we're doing, the plan was on this, after we met today, I'm gonna help redraft both of these to be the language that we need them to be, but we wanted to have this discussion first, so we knew what we were doing. So I'll work with the clerk on that and get those done for you guys for tomorrow. But essentially 16 is, just so we're clear, 16 is the authorizing the amendment to the plan of governance for natural gas aggregation, which is still gonna be on the agenda tomorrow. And then 17 would be the authorization to sign the actual agreement when it's pushed through tomorrow by the sound of things. So both of those will still be on here, but they're gonna look a little bit different tomorrow when they come through.
Then you clear that up because when I read it as electric gas, that's what I assumed we were doing. The one thing when they said.
Yeah.
So.
These were just basic templates that we were provided, so.
Yep.
I just put them on there inside.
Thank you. Thank you. And you have my phone number if you need to call me on anything, any questions.
Appreciate that. And we'll just, the commissioners are here for a meeting tomorrow anyway, so they will be around and we'll get that hopefully taken care of.
Great. Thanks for everybody's time today.
Do we, as a board, want to publicly reach out to Portland, Gerard, Warren, or anyone to say we were doing this and they're welcome to jump on if they want to, at least address their council members or mayors in case their contracts are up to add on the program? Or is that something?
I'm happy if you guys make the intro, I will get there, or one of my people will get there right in a timely fashion as soon as I can to get out there. And talk.
We have been fielding calls from some of those other entities about aggregation. That's what sparks my interest of what do they have and are their contracts up, and we'll have our rate set tomorrow, which they can still sign on after we sign the contract, or would they come in on at a different rate?
Yes and no.
Okay.
If the market hasn't moved, yeah, they'll be at the same type rate. If the market's moved, by the time they get there, I can't control, the market goes at 50
Because they
cents.
may have to do legislation of their own and votes of their own. It might take
Which all takes time.
weeks or month or whatever.
But I'm happy to meet with those. I mean, we do it in many other counties. It's not a big deal. Just tell me who you want me to go talk to and we will.
So just for clarification, Liberty, Cortland,
Hubbard, Gerard,
they've never been in our
Mark.
aggregation program?
no, they're their own aggregation
I
program.
said, but they've never been in the counties.
I can't speak to what happened before us.
I don't believe so because I could speak for Hubbard. They've had their own aggregation for,
I
As
think
long
Hamilton
as I-
should be, has their own aggregation.
sorry,
I think Hamilton should be.
do that.
I think she may be right.
Mr. President, the way the law is that each political subdivision has to form their own aggregation program. Counties only have the authority to form one within the unincorporated areas of the township. So if there is another village or municipality that would like to come in and do the program, they have to take their own initiative. So they have to put it on the ballot. They have to have voter approval. And then what they would do, once they have the authority, they could decide what they want to do. And if they decide they'd like to merge with the county program, then they would, they would cede authority to the county to come under the county.
And Howland is listed on here as a township under our program.
Yeah.
Liberty, I believe, and Alex, you probably read
I
it.
think they had their calendar. I want to say they had their own electric at one point.
But Liberty did their own deal, I know, a number of years ago. They put it on the ballot themselves many years ago. But they can still see and join your program.
Yeah.
It's fine. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Good to see y'all.
Call me if you need me.
You too, Joe.
Thank you. You too, John.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your retirement.
And you'll make sure that the clerk has your number?
Yeah, I need that number. Don't leave without giving me the number.
Which number?
The number that you've been.
Oh, you're gonna get it, so that number will be on, the opt-out stuff and everything, but
Okay.
you'll definitely have it, don't worry.
Okay.
They're not gonna be getting anything for weeks right now, we gotta sign the agreements and all that,
Okay,
don't worry.
perfect. Okay,
But I will also say, and I'll forward it on to you, even before that, if you ever have people that are really questioning stuff, just have them call us and we'll talk to them, it's not a big deal. Even
okay.
before the March, April time, right, not a big deal.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll get on the buildings.
Yeah, let me know, send me an email.
Sure will. Thank you.
Good trip.
Bye.
So engineer Christopher. Yeah.
Thank you. Before I talk about tax map. Thanks.
State your name.
I'm sorry, David Christopher, County Engineer. I wanted to thank the commissioners for supporting the purchase of the Hubbard Outpost, where we have domes to store 48 tons of salt. We got garages for storing trucks. And we've been, of course, using that facility since we've been getting the snow recently.
Right.
And it saves us time and money from having to travel to the Warren Drive every time we need more salt service on the eastern part of the county, southeastern part of the county. And we also allow, while we service Hubbard Township and Brookfield Township, where they pick up their salt. And then we also allow them to use the garages to store some equipment during the off-season in the summertime. So it has been a huge benefit to not only us, but to those townships in the south and on the eastern side of the county. So thank you for the purchase. You got a great deal on the property. I think you paid $150,000 and $50,000 payments over 3 years for a piece of property that's been valued at about $400,000 at least. So again, appreciate your support of that.
I went by the other day and it was jammed in your trucks.
Yeah.
You know, with the trucks.
It's a
So
busy place.
I was happy to see it being used. Yeah.
Well, it just saves a ton of time on that section of the county,
Yeah.
not only for you, but for the townships. Like you
Yeah.
said, they could go in there, load up and get back out on the roads.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the fact that Hubbard Township and Brookfield can utilize it. Hubbard Township doesn't have dome.
No.
250,000 for that dome. And we couldn't get any ARPA monies for it and that failed. So
So for 150,000, you got 2 domes. And you
Right.
got a 5-bay enclosed garage. And I mean, it's been remarkable. So
thank you for presenting it to us to let us know about it.
I have one other question before you go on.
Yeah.
Mr. Engineer, how will the salt supply? Because I noticed on the news that Macomb County has some concerns about getting, salt supply.
we're having the same issues with the salt supplier. Trying to get them to fulfill their commitment on our schedule has been a challenge. We still have a contract with them for so much salt and they're still committed to providing it to us. It's just having them provide it to us on a timely basis is the challenge. And so we're constantly making phone calls to them to make sure that we are able to supply all of those communities that we store salt for and also supply our own facilities so that we have the salt for ourselves to use on our county road. So yes, it's been
So are we seeing a delay in salt delivery then?
we're seeing a delay in salt delivery It's not causing a problem yet, but if the delay continues for an extended period of time, it can put pressure on all of us. Yes.
So what's our recourse?
Just to keep on them, keep calling them and telling them we need salt now, and hopefully the pressure will get them to respond, but that's no guarantee. Seems like the same problem happens every year. We had the problem last year. I don't know if there was a similar problem the years before, but
So when's the last time we received a salt delivery?
we receive salt deliveries regularly. It's just the quantities. They're not in the quantities that.
Well, this should help this week, not having to use it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll catch up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. What I wanted to talk to you about today is the tax map department. As you all know, by the Ohio Revised Code, the tax map department is a responsibility of the county engineer. It is not a responsibility of the county auditor. And back in 2000, the commissioners moved the tax map department from the county engineer to the county auditor. And since then, the county auditor has taken over the duties of the county engineer in preparing that tax map. There's no question that it is the county engineer's responsibility, and I believe not only is it in the ORC, but it's been opined on by the Ohio Attorney General and by our prosecutor's office very extensively in a letter that I don't have with me, that it is the duty of the county engineer. So what we are in the process of doing, working with Bill Danzo, working with the auditor's office, is making that transfer. I have recently created positions of draftsman technician in my office, and of the 4 employees in the county auditor's office that perform functions in the tax map department, we've identified 2 positions that actually make edits to the tax map itself. The other 2 positions are performing auditor functions, and so we are in a place where we are prepared to hire 2 of those people that do the actual drafting work on the tax map itself. The other 2 positions will remain with the auditor's office. The transition addresses 2 specific issues. First is the positions review surveys that are prepared by surveyors who survey throughout the county. Those surveys have been reviewed by non-professionals since 2000. When I say non-professionals, a surveyor submits a survey to the county and expects a surveyor to review his survey, not a non-surveyor. And we've had complaints from surveyors since 2000 that their surveys are not being reviewed by the proper people. So that will be addressed. The other issue that will be addressed is the backlog in the review of surveys. The backlog is, according to the auditor's website, is between 6 to 8 weeks. That means that if you have a transfer that requires a survey, transfer of property that requires a survey, those transfers are delayed for 6 to 8 weeks. And we recently received a call this past week, and I believe they may have talked to Lisa as well, where a title company has complained that their transfer has taken 3 months and it still hasn't been transferred. So those are serious issues that we, I believe, can address. And how can we address them? Well, first of all, with the tax map technicians being employed by the engineer's office, we have the engineering requirements to be an engineer, county engineers. You have to be a professional engineer and a professional surveyor. So we would have a surveyor automatically on staff to review the surveys. But in addition to that, the tax map department requires GIS technology expertise. GIS is the system that they use to create the tax map and to update the tax map. Now, when I was elected county engineer, I understood those two issues very clearly because I was here in 2009. And being reelected recently, I met with realtors and title companies who expressed that issue with us. So it was my intention when I took office after I was elected to bring on somebody in my office that had not only the professional engineering and professional surveying licensures that I have, but also expertise in GIS so that he can oversee the transition of the tax map department to the county engineer's office. My intention is to reduce the time it takes to reduce surveys and to make these transfers where you require a survey from 6 to 8 weeks, and sometimes in this one case, 3 months, to less than a week. And it's going to require some changes. And the changes are all going to be positive. And I'm going to have, in a few minutes, Gary Teneri, who's the person that has the GIS expertise that I hired with the PE and PS, to oversee the tax map department in my office. And when he explains to you some of the things that he explained to me of the capabilities of not just GIS, the GIS system, but more recently, AI technology used in the surveying industry. And just to give you a quick example, it usually takes about an hour for a trained person to review a legal description and then draw that to make sure that it closes, that the boundaries close. At least an hour. AI is doing that in literally a few seconds. So what it takes to do a week's worth of reviewing of legal descriptions and surveys, we can do in an hour, a week's worth of work in an hour. With the capabilities that Gary is familiar with on GIS technology, the tax maps can be updated almost on a daily basis, not months and years behind. They're 2 years behind in some of the surveys. Gary believes, and I believe in Gary, otherwise I would not have hired him, that we can achieve those goals rather quickly. But it's going to take some cooperation. It's going to take cooperation amongst the commissioners, the auditor's office, the IT department, the GIS department, and others that interface with this technology, the planning commission, to make it happen. But it can happen, and it can happen quickly. And so with that in mind, I asked Gary to talk to you like he's talked to me in a matter of 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and you'd be shaking your head saying, oh my gosh, this can really happen, and it can happen fast. And with that, Gary,
I have a quick question before Gary, if I could, commissioners. My concerns, and I understand, and I agree, with AI and all, and and I have had personal calls you had just mentioned. Big farm sold, waiting 6 weeks. Now the contract is null and void because there's a time limit on the agreement that was made between the owner and the buyer, and there's dragging. But here's my concern: the current employees that we employ, are we going to retain those employees?
I'll address that. So,
because I have a concern about that.
There are 4 employees that currently do that work, and I may have covered this, but maybe not clearly enough.
Yeah.
There are 4 employees that currently do this work. 2 of them are going to work for me, doing drafts, the tax map draft.
Okay.
Two of them are going to, and I can't speak for the auditor, but the plan is two of them are going to stay with the auditor to do some of their reviews that they do as part of the process. So those four employees will remain in their positions. The two that are coming with me, I would like them to be paid what they were going to be paid if they were to stay with the auditor. And I received their budget. I'm agreeable with their budget. They're agreeable with what they're proposed to be paid. Plus their benefits, healthcare benefits specifically, and I should say only because we have our own benefits, but their healthcare benefits are a little richer than our benefits. Their benefits cover a little bit more, but they pay a little bit more. It costs about $38,000 a year for a family benefit for healthcare on the commissioner's plan. It costs $25,000 on our plan, which ours is a good plan. It's just yours is a little richer, and I understand that. So they wanted to stay on their plan, and so I'm fine with those two employees being the only two that work for me to be on a different plan, which would be the commissioner's plan. And then when those employees retire or are replaced, then they would go on our plan. But keep in mind, the commissioners pay for those employees. By the Ohio Revised Code, those employees are paid for by the commissioners. So,
And that's a whole new ballgame. We'll have to get with Alex with that because I know that there's some disparities there, but we won't go there right now. We'd rather hear from where.
well, we actually met with all the employees, and we met with the two employees that would be coming with us. We met with all four employees, and they chose which employees would be coming with us. We didn't choose. We're fine with any of them. And met with the two that are coming with us, and they expressed no objection to coming with us that I know of. I mean, initially, early on in the conversations, there was an issue with unions. They're in unions now. Ours are classified employees. They're protected classified employees, but they're not in the union. So yes, this union would lose two employees, but if those two employees did not leave the union and stayed here, I would hire two employees to work for me from the outside. But I don't want to do that. I want to hire these two employees because they have jobs here.
Right.
But if they didn't want to come, if the union didn't want to lose them, if the union wanted to keep them, then I got to go outside and find two employees with GIS technology experience that could work.
But they are willing to.
Yes, I'm willing to take them, and yeah, they want to keep their job. They don't want to lose their job.
That was my concern.
So we're gonna pay for them, but you're gonna supervise them?
That's correct.
We do that with any other employees in the county?
But that's what the ORC says.
Well, Commissioner Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, you actually do that essentially around the entire county.
Yeah.
Because what it really just means is that it's coming from the general fund. So what's gonna happen is that the engineer is gonna come to you with a budget request now, just like every other general fund office does.
But the auditor will come with us with a smaller budget
Correct.
request.
So in theory, based on what the engineer has
Could
said,
be.
in theory, what will happen is that the auditor will reduce her budget by the cost of those two employees, and the engineer is going to ask for that in his budget from the general fund, which has not been done traditionally. Most it's been road and highway funds only. This will be one of the first times where there will be a general fund allocation requested by the engineer. But again, it should be offsetting from the auditor's request.
Yeah. They'll work in your office, so they won't work here in this building. They'll go to
That's correct.
your building, those two employees.
Yes, and we need to set up, the computer system with all the software and all the capabilities that we need to operate tax map.
Do we need to pay for that or you pay for that?
It's all your cost. Unfortunately, it's all at your expense.
We
Now,
can move it from the auditors, or is that their property? We can't just move their computers technology?
I know a little bit about the Sheriff and the Commissioners. Apparently REA purchased those computers. So from my understanding, that's an issue. It would be like the vehicle where we need to pay for those computers.
We'll take new computers. I have no
Yeah, but
objection
we
to
can
that.
buy this from the auditor,
That's what I'm saying.
okay?
But unless they're really, if they're really old, I wouldn't advise that.
Yeah.
I would advise getting new ones.
Yeah,
Because the ones that we are even operating on now are getting old.
yeah. That's what I was thinking too. After I talked to you, I'm thinking this has got to be probably 5 years old.
Well, we need to
5
look at
years is
that.
old for a computer.
So Gary, would you make that determination, whether we need new computers?
Yes, Gary Teneri, Trumbull County Engineer's Office. We've put together a spreadsheet of the computer furniture we would need and the computer hardware, the computer software, and we're looking at somewhere around, and our estimate is somewhere around $6,000 right now.
I'm aware of the computer furniture. Is there any way, we have a whole building full of furniture. Is there any way that maybe you guys could use some of that furniture in there and save us some costs?
Sure.
Well, the furniture is probably the cheapest, the least
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
That's probably in the hundreds.
I thought the desk were like
Well,
It was 17.
1,700.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ours aren't that.
No.
No, we had the computer desks were I think $450 each. A chair was, roughly $140. The computers, we are getting an estimate. We estimated those at somewhere around $700 to $1,000. Waiting for a number from Tim Hannaford from the IT department.
Well,
The
when I-
software is a yearly lease for the software. We don't know all the software we need yet because we haven't.
It wasn't being leased by the auditor's office? They
Yes,
don't need
yes.
any more if you're doing it.
It'll be the same amount they're leasing it for, yeah.
They bill back to each individual department, like for us, we have Adobe and we have Microsoft and we have to pay for those per year. We just pay IT. We reimburse them for it. That's how it works.
So do you foresee any obstacles in moving those two employees to you? Other than?
Well, I wrote a list of 4 things. Number 1, we're gonna need the hardware and the software, which Gary is just telling you about, to access and access to the existing GIS data. Number 2, the auditors, what's called the Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal Database and the Recorder's Database. That's number 2. Number 3 is we're gonna need cooperation with each of these departments. I mentioned that a minute ago. Your office, GIS, IT, auditor's office.
Have you reached out to them yet?
IT, GIS knows about what we're doing. IT knows about what that's Tim Hannaford and George.
Gotcha.
Yes, and the auditor's office, and now you do. And you were the last that I could talk to because I needed to talk to you all together, talk to you individually. So I waited till I had all the answers for you to talk to you now. And then we're going to need coordination with the company that publishes the parcel viewer. So those are the obstacles, but I don't want to see them as obstacles, just things that need to be done. And if someone's not assisting us to get it done, then that's an obstacle that we're going to have to address. And I will come to you to address that, because the last thing I want to see, the last thing you want to see, the last thing anybody wants to see is if this is not seamless and now we have a bigger problem. That's the last thing I want to see. And I cannot see that it's not forthcoming if we all work together. It should be.
I shouldn't see why this should be just an easy transition and bang, bang, it's over there. It's just,
Yeah.
you're right. If there is a hold up anywhere in the system, it's gonna delay the customer, the end
That's
user, the
right.
guy that's waiting for the survey to be done. We don't want that. We don't want to punish the public.
That's right.
Let's just make this thing nice and easy. It sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, and we want them, of course, anybody who's supervising their employees, it's best to have them working by. I mean, you couldn't supervise your employees if your office was in my office and you have your employees. I can't supervise my employees if they're not in my office. So, and it's, it's a change. I mean, they're used to coming here and they have friends here that they've, over the years made, and I understand that. And I certainly don't want to break up any friendships, but they'll make new friends. That's not a bad thing.
Okay.
You got better parking. You got better parking.
I told them that too. And the first time they came over for a meeting, they were like, "Oh my God, it's 10 steps to your
Yes,
door."
I love that.
10 steps to the door, you got it. ABI is gonna be doing lunch
always
food stuff. You're good to go.
They're not hunting around for.
Before Gary gives his presentation, I have to ask this gentleman because I have this memo in front of me that sometime in the 2020s, 2001, for that, it was taken out of the engineer's office and put in the auditor's office. And then in early 2019, the Attorney General released an opinion saying that it should be under the control of the engineer, not the auditor. Why wasn't that done? Nobody, I mean, none of us sitting at this table were here, but that was a finding. It should have been done. And why was it taken out of the engineer's office when it clearly states that that's where it belongs? I mean, I have to ask that question. And
Previous engineer, previous auditor.
yeah, but it should have, it was against the Ohio Revised Code because it was put in the engineer's office back in the 70s. Because I put it there.
No.
And now somebody took it out of there.
I have a guess. I have a guess on what happened. It was probably.
Well, but it shouldn't have never happened.
It was what?
It was probably due to financials.
Well, I think
Where-
Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, I think, and back in 2008 or whenever it was, I wasn't in this position here, so I can't answer for sure, but
Yeah.
I think the reason that the commissioners may have made that decision back then is I think that's about the time the county really started investing in its GIS system. And probably the logic was, since the auditor's office runs the data processing and all the computers and the software in the county, maybe it made sense to just combine it all in one spot there. I don't know. My understanding was that may have happened elsewhere in the state also around that time. I don't know that for sure, but I do know that again, in 2019, the Attorney General came back and said, no, the tax map drafting has to be done by employees of the engineer, and it has to be paid out of the general fund.
And it was just ignored for 4 years, 5 years.
That I can't really answer much more on.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
And now we're here to.
And then back to us.
And I'll give you my thoughts as well. And I totally agree with Bill. My thoughts are the tax maps themselves, not the work on the tax map, but the tax maps themselves have to be kept with the auditor. So the tax maps will be kept with the auditor. Now it'll be on an electronic file, so she'll have access to all the tax maps that we do. When they were in paper copies before GIS, they were kept here. And so once they went to GIS, with new technology and you had your IT people here and your GIS people here, it probably just made it easy for the commissioners at that time to say, well, let's just move the tax map under the auditor's office. It just makes.
Yeah, but make
more
it
sense.
easy and fall in the law.
But that's right. That's right.
And
Maybe-
and now it's causing us a headache.
Yes. And
I'm gonna clean up other stuff before, Commissioner.
Oh, we're gonna
Unfortunately, it's
clean it
another
up.
thing
It's
to
just-
clean up. And
It's just that it should have never been taken out of there.
Dave, I commend you for doing it now. I mean, folks
Well,
gonna have to stop
thank
from
you.
being kicked down the road, and you making this move to do that. I guess that's our job. We appreciate you doing. Let's do things right, as we always do as a board.
Thank you, Commissioner. So with that being said, Gary's gonna take a couple minutes just to let you know what the capabilities are and how they're not being used today to their fullest extent that can really, really lightning speed this operation. Now,
Thanks, David.
rock their socks like you rock mine, Gary.
Gary Tenary, Trumbull County Engineers Office. I'll just give you a little bit of background. I graduated in '84 from YSU. Started as a surveyor's assistant was my first job. So I've been doing surveying and drawing surveys since 1984. Started on a drafting table,
then in 86 went into AutoCAD, the first version of AutoCAD that came out, which is computer aided drafting. So on the computer drafting since 1986. Of course, I've been using the Trumbull County tax maps since probably 1996, started with the paper version. So I know the whole process with the paper versions and was around for the transition into the GIS parcel viewer. It took, quite a few years to draw those parcels. So over the last 25 years using that parcel viewer, I've seen a lot of improvements that could have been made to the parcel viewer. My GIS experience started in approximately 2009. I worked in an oil and gas company, and I started out by making a map of all of our leases. We had quite 15,000 leases, and all of our wells and all of our pipelines, and eventually made a GIS map of pretty much all of Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia and every well, hundreds of thousands of wells, and had the capability of downloading. Each state has a database that has all the production, the gas production, the oil production, the water production from every well, and downloading those databases, turning them into Excel spreadsheets and linking them to the GIS maps. We had a map that showed every well, and the production was based on the size of the circle, which is very beneficial. And the company went from drilling 10 wells a year to over 100 wells a year from the mapping capabilities that we had. So for the tax map, I see lots of improvements we can make as far as we can connect the map. Hopefully we can connect the map to the databases that exist, the auditor's database and the recorder's database. And the map can update itself because it can read the databases and change the instrument numbers. Right now, a lot of what they do is things get recorded every day, and the tax map department gets a report from the recorder's office that says what parcels were recorded and the new instrument numbers, and they go in and update those. And the owner's names gets updated, and any information gets updated. Right now, it's being done by hand and it's viewed at time. I think we can connect the databases, and when the recorder's office updates an instrument number, the map updates the instrument number at the same time. Or, we're going to start out, that's all not going to happen instantaneously. We'll start out doing that manually for a while using spreadsheets. So let's talk about the surveying review. I've been surveying since 1984. I've done thousands of surveys. I've written hundreds of legal descriptions. So reviewing surveys and legal descriptions is, something that's very easy for me to do. And like David mentioned, we're utilizing an AI software that reads the legal descriptions, checks for closure, and plots them. And you can just have that plot go right into the map. And it's a very powerful piece of software. I think we can get the surveying reviews down to a day or two. It depends on, we have to work with the surveyors. If he has to make a revision, we can't control the time it takes him to make a revision, but they usually, they're working for their client who wants it done, and they usually make the revisions pretty quick. We hope to see in the future that the whole survey review process becomes digital, that they're submitted through an email, and they go to the planning commission first, and they have to approve them and call them exempt or approve the parcel split. And then we would review them digitally through a PDF, and we can approve them with a PDF stamp. Right now things are walked around a lot from different departments. You drop it off at planning, you come back and pick it up from planning, take it over to the tax map, and then you carry it down to the recorder. There's lots of moving pieces, I think, that could be updated and made to happen a lot quicker. So yeah, I think with David's leadership bringing me on, I think we have the ability to make it one of the best parcel viewers, tax maps in the state.
I have a question. What's the time frame on making the switch?
We want to be operating out of our office by February the 2nd. And I believe that date was picked because it's a payroll date.
it falls on a payroll break date. And, I had initially picked early in January, but it was essentially just a place marker so that we had a target date, but we moved that target date to February, and it's February 2nd. So that's, now I don't want to just start making the transition February 2nd. I want it to be operational February 2nd, where those employees will now be working for me as of February 2nd.
So then I have a couple of questions.
And before I go on, I see Martha's here, and I want to thank Martha again and her office for the assistance that they've given us to this point, which we got a little bit to go, but to this point, I want to thank, and Bill, I think I thanked you both already, but now that I said, I don't know if you were here when I first started, Martha.
No, I just got it.
Okay, so, yeah, but go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, so, two questions. First of all, the cost factor. Secondly, this hospitalization, which
She said she wanted to talk about it.
Alex, we're gonna need to figure this out because my understanding is there could be some issue with that. And I don't know how to negotiate that with those two, or we don't know how we're gonna have that negotiated with these employees. Would they transfer to his plan maybe, or they don't want to, or how's this gonna work?
I haven't had a seat at the table, so I can't speak to it. I'm just getting all this information as of right now, outside of what little parts and pieces, but the union is asking for some assistance in that. And, it's their understanding that it can just transfer from one to the other. I will tell you our policies and procedures don't state that. I will also tell you that under Ohio Revised Code, the commissioners are the contracting appointing authority for all things healthcare. So if these employees are going on to another elected official who has their own healthcare, you're going to have 2-on-1 and some on others. We need to discuss this.
But he's saying he's gonna keep them all the same, but that's what your intention is, to keep them all the same until they retire, right?
Those two that would come to my office, I have no problem with them to keep their current health care until they retire, and then the new employees would be under our
Right,
health.
they're leaving the union anyway, right?
Yeah, they're leaving the union.
They will be classified and not.
Right. So you're extending union benefits to be, I would prefer to talk about this offline.
Well, what
Wait,
union benefits
can you-
that we don't want them to transfer.
But-
Rick,
But
may I
we
say?
have not
Yeah,
even
go
get
ahead.
people in our office
Yeah.
who are on the health.
Like I
Well,
said,
the only
I would
union
prefer-
benefit that they do have that they won't have if they come to us is
I think we ought to,
prescription care.
I think we ought to respect the HR's wishes. They'd like to do some investigation and get back to us on this and not discuss it right now. For whatever reason she may have.
And I'm good with that. I just know that, I know what what the
But thank you for
David
bringing that
wants.
up because it's going to be an issue that we need to resolve.
And to be fair, I just am hearing different versions. So it's hard to make a decision when I haven't been hearing all sides of the story, all equations, all the factors have been laid out. So if you're asking me for my opinion, I can't give you an educated one right now because I haven't been part of the process.
So you'll get with the
I
engineer.
mean, I've asked.
Okay, and you'll.
I've asked.
Well, Alex, you've only asked to be part of you wanted me to meet with the union representatives. And I spoke with my legal counsel and I spoke with my union labor relations counsel, and they both objected to me meeting with a separate union representative when I have my own union, and that would create some kind of a legal issue with the union. So that's the only thing I objected to doing, was meeting with this union representative for those two reasons.
I did send an email thereafter, actually 2 emails. I have them here asking for updates on what the plan was with the health insurance, what updates were with, hold on, I have it right here.
Well, I answered them. The plan was for them to keep their current health insurance. That's the plan.
I just got that answer today.
Well,
I did not get that answer in writing. I have the email here where I asked that and I did not hear back.
I think the best is to have the engineer's office and the HR get together. And they can work out
And that seems like, if that's the only hangup we have now, that seems like a simple meeting.
Yeah.
That final
I
stuff
mean, it
done.
sounds
Well,
like,
as long as
it sounds like Martha has employees that are
Contract.
non-union employees that have the same health care.
Correct.
So these would be county employees paid for by the commissioners that get your same health care. Like,
So you two will get together.
yeah, yeah.
Martha, do you have something to add to this, conversation? Because I know you came in or.
I don't, not at this time. We have
She's next.
a meeting scheduled. I'm here for budget stuff. We have a meeting scheduled this Friday to kind of go over some of the transition details. And I think everything can be worked out.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
for
thank
that.
you. They can hopefully go seamlessly, like you said.
So you'll give us a,
I'm
HR.
gonna wait today and meet with Alex. Gary.
thank you.
Auditor note, you're at. Thank you. Pass out everything. Thank you. Auditor, while Christie passes that out, we just wanted to kind of give you guys year-end stuff, information, as well as some upcoming year things, and also, although it's been sent out, that information, Christie can review that. I'm going to start by talking about the reserves, because I think that's really important, given the fact that the county did get into the reserves for for 25. So I just want to give a review of that, of what our reserves are, and it comes from, etc. Well, we don't have a single account designated for our reserves. Historically, 4 accounts have functioned as reserves for the county. 921, which is the undivided sales tax, current balance of $5,599,230.55. 928 is the justice sales tax with a current balance of $1,953,789.17. The casino tax and the current balance, that's 943. Current balance is $3,291,506.76. 949 is the MCO sales tax transition fund. The current balance is $30,032,831.25. Note that 949 does not collect revenue. This was a settlement that was made years ago from the state to transition us from the sales tax that we were collecting on Medicare things. And so that does not go up at all. We add no revenue to that. So it's important to note that once that's gone, it's gone.
I have one question on that.
Sure.
1 second. So those funds in the NCO, what can they be used for? Anything?
Those can be used. They are general fund associated. So we have made transfers to general fund items into, for example, Valley Vision was paid for out of that. So any of those can go from where they are into the general fund, and you have done. The
But
commission.
once it's gone, it's gone.
Once it's gone, it's gone. Right. The other ones we do receive every year. We receive a certain amount, and it does vary because, as you can see, all 3 of those have things that would cause it to vary, depending on the contract.
So the NCO, when's the last time we received any funds into that?
I would have to look into that for you, but I
Well,
want
just give me a rough idea. I mean, a
20,
year, 5 years, 2 years, 10 years?
around 2020-ish.
Okay.
So about
So-
6 years.
And it was a one-time settlement,
Okay.
so it's not anything that's going to come back.
And there's no stipulation on what we can use that for?
Christy Cesaric, auditor's office, we've used it for the Valley Vision, the 2 payments for those, the Hydrilla, and I believe, there was 800,000 taken out. Was that for the sheriff's office supplement? Because there was one,
And I agree, right?
Okay, I'm sorry.
And that's,
But we did, maybe, those are, I mean, we've used it for big item things,
Yeah.
that's why I can tell you what they
Yeah,
are,
we
we haven't
use it
used it
for
for
like
small
capital
projects.
improvement
Which we could use it,
facilities
yes.
or something
Right.
like that.
and Madam Auditor, this, but we also use this whole figure, all these figures you gave us towards the amount we keep on reserve that we're recommended to keep by the state, the 12 million or
If
whatever.
you'll
to have
let me
reserve.
finish up.
So to clarify
Go
that
ahead.
before you go, so the 3 million that's in the NCO, that's reflected in the reserves?
Correct, that's part of the reserve, it's always been part of the, I've always done it that way,
Well, that-
okay, with that, all right.
Okay.
All right, so the total in these four funds is currently $13,877,445.73. This is $1,156,327.75 less than what was in our reserves at the beginning. The commissioners used over $4 million from the reserves in 2025. Most of that was to supplement the budget. This use was mitigated by the fact that both casino and sales tax that were collected were more than anticipated, but the overall total in reserves is less than last year. The total of both reserves and unencumbered carryover is $17,794,825.42. This is about 26% of last year's total expenditures, or 3.12 months of expenses. For comparison, last year's total, both reserves and unencumbered carryover, was $18,646,208.40, which was 29% of 2024's total expenditures, or 3.48 months of expenses. As a reminder, last year you did ask me how much should be in reserves, and this is a difficult question. There's been, there's lots of different answers. GFOA has some things, and I kind of went into those actually on a couple of different occasions with you. But part of the research that we did back in February, one of the points that I tried to stress with you then is that the county would be put in fiscal watch should the carryover plus reserves fall below 1 month's expenses. So that's why that 1 month is important, and that's why I delineated it by months. You can see when you look that we were at 3.48 months at the beginning of 25, we're now at 3.12, so we're going in a not so great direction. Now, I understand the commissioners use the reserves as a short-term solution, but I want the commissioners to understand from what I'm saying right now that this is not sustainable long-term. At some point, some things have to change. So that's just wanted you to have that. I'm going to let Christy start reviewing our estimated revenue and some comparisons from last year, so you guys understand it. And I may chime in as well, but I'll let Christy do it.
Okay, so to get started on the budget process for 2020. Sorry, Christy Derek, Auditor's Office. To get started on the budget process for 2026, the Budget Commission needs to set the estimated revenue so that we can calculate the total amount available to be appropriated. So on the statement you're looking at here, we start off at the cash balance at the beginning of the year, which was $5.5 million. I'll just do approximates. Our carryover encumbrances were $1.6 million, which leaves us unencumbered fund balance at January 1st, 2026 of $3.9 million. We are looking right now at 2026 estimated revenue. As you can see, our transfers line item. I listed the 6 largest revenue accounts in the general fund, so you could kind of see it is a little different from last year. But as you can see, this total for the 6 largest accounts is $53.7 million, and all the other revenue accounts only account for about $9.4 million. So those 6 accounts are very important for us. So the 6 accounts are the first transferred account, which is the undivided sales tax, casino, and Medicaid. And that's our estimate on that. And I have a breakdown of that down below in the green area. Then the justice sales tax transfers, $8.5 million. Property taxes we're estimating at $7.5 million. Shared revenue, $4.6. The shared revenue is made up of the local government fund money and homestead and rollback. Interest, Treasurer's Office is estimating a little over $4.2 million, and then transfers and conveyances, which we're estimating at a little over $2.3 million. That gives the 6 largest accounts a total of $53.7. Again, the other is $9.4 million, for a total 2026 estimated revenue of $63.2 million. That 2026 estimated revenue, along with our unencumbered fund balance, gives us a total amount available to be appropriated right now of $67.1 million.
Does that include the 3.9 million that was left over?
Yes.
Yes,
That's the
that's the unencumbered fund balance. Yeah, so it's the 3.9 million plus the 63.2, that equals the 67.1.
Now, Christy and Martha, you're Trumbull. Now, Christy included our original, at my request, our original estimate for 2025. The actual at year end for 2025, you'll notice that our original estimate for 2025 was like 66.58. And then what we ended up with was 71.5. But keep in mind that that includes all the transfers that we did to supplement the general fund budget, that 71. And as well as some increases in revenue that we didn't anticipate. But most of that difference between the 71.5 and the 66.5 is things that were transferred as we went along in the year from the reserves. So that reason for that revenue being more than what we did at what we thought at the beginning, if you guys, the board kept adding to that anytime we made a transfer, that's included in our revenue.
Yeah, but was that added because the revenue was up?
No,
No.
it was
See,
added, go ahead.
I would just say Christy Starrett, auditor's office. I'd say in the past, when the county used sales tax money to pay for something, they just paid for it out of the sales tax fund. But that made it very difficult when you were searching for certain items and stuff like that. So starting last year, what we did when the board approved a project to be paid, we started transferring the money from 921 to the fund that was then going to spend it, which then increases the revenue in that fund. So for example, you guys approved $2 million to be transferred from the sales tax fund to supplement the general fund at the beginning of the year. So we transferred that money from 921 to 001 general fund, which increased the estimated revenue.
So it's not true revenue, it's
Here's
just
my
revenue.
question. Your original estimate was 66 million.
Mhm.
Okay. How much actual increase in revenue did we receive?
So
Actual dollars.
I would say not very much, because the 4 million was transferred.
Well,
additional.
but what I would like to know is that you said we're going to receive 66 million. How much did we actually receive? Was it
I
up?
can get that number for you, but I would have to go back and
Well, I think we as commissioners, I
If
think
you
we
look
need
just
to-
at the sales tax, it was over 3 million more than what was
Right,
anticipated
so-
just for the
so-
sales
But
tax.
first of all, time out, Martha, you're the Trumbull County Auditor. Not everything that goes to the sales tax goes and gets transferred into general fund. Sales tax starts in that sales tax fund. So when we're looking at that revenue, right, it's kind of deceiving when we say revenue. Revenue is what we put into the general fund. It can be revenue that is this actual generated revenue, and most of it is. But because we supplemented the general fund budget by over 4 million, over 4 million of that 71 million is not actual revenue, it's transfers from the reserves. Now, on the sheet, and so some of this, what you're looking for can be explained, because if you look at when you go down to property taxes, you can see that we actually collected less than what we anticipated. We had 8.7, 7.5. Shared revenue, which is local government funds and homestead rollbacks, we brought in more, 4.7 instead of 4.4. Do you see where I'm looking at, Commissioner? All right. Okay. Interest, we brought in less than what we anticipated, 4.2 instead of 4.5. So it's a mixed bag. Transfers, that's conveyance that I've talked to you guys about, what we bring in as an auditor's office, those fees that are on every conveyance. We actually brought in 600,000 more. Does that somewhat answer your question?
Yeah, I understand it, but
And then the other,
because if you look at it, it looks like we received $4 million.
correct, and that's why I was
But-
trying to explain
Right,
that for
and
you.
that's why we need the actual figure on how much.
I
I can get that for you. So just Christy Sesteric, Auditor's Office, just a little, maybe a heads up on how we do the sales tax. So for example, right now, we're estimating 26.4 million for 2026. If that's the amount that we continue to go with, we will divide that by 12, and that's the amount that we will transfer from sales tax to general fund every month. Anything additional that you guys choose over that amount there to transfer from sales tax to general fund, we would have to do a amended estimated certificate of estimated resources to increase it by the amount that you're taking from sales tax and putting it to the general fund. But I can get you
And
everything.
the only reason I'm looking for the clarification, because if you look at this, you'll say, well, they estimated 66 million and actually took in 71.
Yeah, and we-
So then when all the office holders come in and we say, no, you can't have an additional
Right.
500 or a million.
Right.
And they're gonna say, well, look what happened last year. You guys have received all this money,
But-
which technically isn't true.
Correct. And that's why I wanted to be very careful and start with the reserves so that you understood that so much of what we dipped into and the declining reserves. And that's why I started with that.
Can I, Bill Danso, prosecutor's office, because I had a similar, I think, question yesterday at the budget commission meeting. Just to maybe try to explain too. I think the first number that they gave the commissioners to sort of explain that, where you guys dipped into the reserves to the total of, what was the?
It's over 4 million.
It was over 4 million, but ultimately the difference between the difference between what did it amount to 1.2 million, somewhere in there. So there was like Commissioner Malloy said, there was some additional sales tax that was not estimated, that was
Right.
collected, that went into the reserves. So that,
But that was actually more, we utilized more of that than what we.
right,
we
but
took
I
in.
think it's a little bit confusing, I think, and it's confusing to me too,
Sure.
but I just, it's a little bit confusing because you're right, the numbers on paper don't look exactly the same, but even though that sales tax was, and I understand it goes into the reserves first, but ultimately it was collected in excess of the estimated
Right.
number, and I think that's what Commissioner Malloy was doing. too.
Right, my biggest thing is last year, when we had this meeting, we went with a number that was given to us. We scared the hell out of a lot of people, we cut a lot of departments, and we were the bad guy and fought with every department we had out there. We gave money back. At the end of the year, it's like, we never should have done that in the beginning. We finished, wait a minute, let me talk. We finished way better than what was estimated and anticipated. And we scared people for no reason. It made it look like it was great that we did a budget crunch and people got rid of all the excess in the departments. And I think we should stay on that thing as far as raises and things like that for another year. But I don't want to scare the people this year again, because we know last year we were very, very conservative, too conservative. And I don't want to go through that ever again
Well,
to scare people for no
that's
reason.
what they're saying.
No, let me first. We did have an
Tiffany,
excess,
Martha?
I'm sorry, Martha, you're at Trumbull County Auditor. Yes, we did have excess, but we still spent more than the excess. So that's.
We're only net
good.
behind 1.5 million as far as the reserves go.
Only, yeah. And that's your choice to do that. And if you choose to go ahead and pull things more from the reserves, well, just like last year, we have no choice. I'm not the decision maker. I'm just the.
Yeah, but our choice is, if we only have X amount of dollars, we either have to pull it from somewhere
Right.
or we have to cut.
Correct. But I'm saying, I don't, my point on this is I'm being told that I did not estimate correctly. And there
No.
are some mistakes we made in here. And I'm
Well,
absolutely
I
sure.
mean, I realize that's a tough decision. I mean,
Right.
that's a tough decision.
But it's, we can, trying to look in our crystal ball, we look on beast past, but the reality is we still spent more than we took in.
Well, we learned a lot too. Right now, we have our recorders making an extra $10,000 a month by raising fees on some things. Our treasurer is making us interest bearing in an account where he's making us, just in a short time, tens of thousands of dollars more than what we were anticipated ever making before. We have a new sheriff that's got his legs underneath him now, and he's understanding the budget of his department. And I think he's being fiscally responsible. At the auditor's office now, even with the engineer involved with things, saving jobs at the same time of figuring out where we can function without having too much, without waste. I think we're being absolutely fiscally responsible with this whole thing, and this is a good thing. I'm not criticizing anything other than I would rather be more conservative than less. But I think last year, being as conservative as we were, we learned, and I don't think we need to be as conservative out of the gate and then evaluate as we get through the
Well, I
year.
think that depends on that figure that they give us,
And
on how much we actually did.
so, go ahead.
Christy Sterk, Auditor's Office, if you take what we ended at, the actual 71.5 million in the revenue, you take out the 4 million that we share a transfer from the sales tax funds into there, we're only looking at 67.5 million, so which is $1 million more than what we had estimated at the beginning of the year.
Right.
If you're not using the money supplemented from the additional sales tax money, we're looking at a $1 million increase.
Unless we make
That's
more
it.
sales tax this year than we even did last year, then we're.
It's always the hope.
That's always.
And I did increase, I mean, I did a estimate based on the actual, what we had estimated last year. I even looked back a couple years to see like if there's a trend with those months. So we got $23.9 million is what we're estimating for the undivided sales tax. Now, we are estimating a little bit more than that, but we have to subtract out the amount for the debt this year, which is 1.8 million. So we're really estimating
Here's the bottom line, right? If you're telling me that we have 67 million appropriate, we can't go over that. Because, I mean, if you're telling me we only have 67 million, we can't go in there and appropriate 71 million. Well, that's because we don't have the money.
Exactly, and that's where, and this is what comes down to what we did last year. We had even asked the question the prosecutor brought up prior to going into a fiscal emergency. We did pull those reserves to justify, the budget or to make the budget. So if we have the 67 million, it's going to come down to, and like the auditor said, what do you want to pull out of those reserves to fund our departments moving forward? That's the only choice we have. I mean, you have 67 million to work with. Unless you pull it from the reserves, I don't know where else you're going to get it. And prior to going into a fiscal emergency.
Fiscal watch. There's three,
Okay,
fiscal
so
strength is 3 sets.
1 month.
Right.
Fiscal watch. Right now, we're at 3.212 months.
Correct.
So even if we pull another whatever amount out of there, we don't want to get to the point of where we're below 2, I suppose.
We can pull $1.5 million.
But we can't pull money from there. We can pull money from the reserve still without going into a fiscal. I imagine it happens all the time.
But then what happens all of year?
Then we're going down like the auditor said. That's the problem. At some point we're going to have to generate more sales tax, more money somehow, maybe from upcoming businesses that are locating here. Maybe more revenue comes through, but that's on a wish list that that happens. But
so right now you're telling me that we have 67 million.
67
And that's what we should do our budget on.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I want to explain, this is not the certified estimated revenue. This is not, the Budget Commission has not certified us. This is going to be pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Because last year we waited, one of the reasons we came in today, Christy and I decided to do this, is that last year we waited until after we had certified it. We felt like it was better for you to have a good idea of it before we even.
I was just gonna say, we're gonna probably be certifying at the next meeting, which will be 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today.
Oh, yeah, because Martin Luther King Day, yes.
I mean, we still have to be cautious.
Right, but the one number we still have to convey out of this whole meeting is we are in better shape this year than we were last year. Even the figures show that. We're showing we got 67 instead of 66. We know prices of goods go up, things go up, but we could be in a situation where we're hearing today we only have 63 million instead of 66.
Well, keep in mind,
we're hearing the opposite. That's trending upward. That's trending better for us.
And actually we are, because we were given 2 million from the clerk reports, which added to that, recall?
That's included in the cash balance.
Yeah, but wasn't it 64 and then the 2 million brought us to 66?
That's part of the expenditure process. It was part of the
What were
revenue.
you last year?
It came within the past, so it was deposited prior to the end of 24, so it was in the carryover.
Oh,
It's in
so-
the-
Right, it was included it was included sorry, it was included part of this cash balance,
Okay.
the 7.2 million cash balance last year. But
To
And
your
you'll
point,
see-
Jenny, you're right, we're looking at a million more, which isn't enough, but we're in better shape than we
It
were.
doesn't mean we're gonna go hire a bunch of people and give everybody raises. Well, I get that. But I don't want anyone to think we're in dire, there were scary times last year where we worried about layoffs and there were people afraid. And I don't want them to be as afraid. We're gonna balance things correctly. We're gonna be fiscally responsible, but we are trending upward. We're not losing money as a county. We are gaining momentum as a county.
We're also at watching daily. We're
Of course.
always watching, which was not in the past how we typically did things.
Well,
Oh,
here's the Hysteric Auditor's Office. Also last year with the appropriations that were budgeted, we found out that there are some departments that didn't utilize all the funds that they were appropriated that could have been used for other departments, and something that Shara is going to be keeping an eye on this year. There was some left at the table, so to speak. So there is that. And that's also why we wanted to put like the 6 largest on here, so you can kind of see the difference on those. I did check with the treasurer's office on the interest, transfers and conveyances. I did make a mistake last year on the property taxes. I took the gross amount, not the net. I do apologize on that. And then all the other accounts, I reached out to them and asked them to adjust, because as Sharon and I found out last year, there were quite a few accounts, revenue accounts, where we were no longer receiving that money, and we had to reduce those. The Board of Health money that came here, Family Court used to get money from CSEA that they stopped getting. So we've cleaned a lot of that up. The other thing I'd like to note is our appropriations do not roll over from year to year, so you will need to reappropriate the contingencies line item, which we did a screenshot of that at the end of the year. It was about $1.7 million.
Yes.
So that would need to come from here too.
Yes.
That's not rolled over.
If there's, Martha, you're Trumbull County Auditor, if there's no further questions on our estimated revenue, I'll have Christy just really briefly review the debt, and just so, we've given this to you, I believe she emailed it to you.
Right after Matt Stewinski's
Right, I
back
emailed
of
it
it.
actually, the 25 schedule, I think, several times during 25, and then this is our 26 one, which has been.
So the 2026 debt schedule, I did update it on December 16th. The top part are our notes that we are going to be reissuing in March of this year. Again, that's $4.7 million. There's the enterprise type of sanitaries notes, and then the bonds down below. The bonds says bonds 301, that's fund 301. Those are the ones that are taken care of by the general fund. The rest are sanitaries. And our principal balance on that right now is 11.8 million. And our debt service on that is about 1.8 million.
I have a question on that. I think Commissioner Boyd had a question too. I think we both had the same question.
Okay.
Up at the top where our debt is 4.791 million.
Mhm.
We paid interest 191,000 and 0 on the principal. Is that correct?
Correct. Because those are our short-term notes. They're just the year-long notes. So
Because does the principal ever go down?
yes, we were talking that meeting
Because on there,
Matt
it doesn't show.
Well, it didn't, well, when I did this, we hadn't talked yet about the amount we were gonna put down. But after Matt Stewinski's last meeting, Cheryl and Daryl and I met to determine how we were on some of those projects. We are going to reduce the principal amount by the amounts that are left in those funds for elevator, engineering roof, and engineering office. And then the stone building, Daryl believes that, is it 300,000 that we're not gonna need? So we're gonna reduce it by that 300,000.
Yeah, but by paying 191,000 in interest, did we reduce any of the principal of that payment?
That 191 is what we
So
got.
the only way
what
that
we
we're
owe-
reducing it is by not spending it.
Well, the 191,000 is the interest for this year that's going on right now. So when we reduce the amount that we're rolling over in March of 26, it will reduce our interest for the interest that we pay in 27.
But I guess what we're asking is, why don't we just pay interest? Why don't we
This is
pay?
a short term. That's how it works.
It's only a 1-year note.
Right, those are one-year notes. You don't pay on the principal unless you choose to pay on the principal, like we're going
We're
to.
going to March of
March
26.
Trumbull County Auditor, and then it gets rolled eventually into a bond, and that's when it starts, you start paying it down and you pay it. So
And just
that's how it works.
Christie's Historic Auditor's Office, that elevator note was originally $800,000. Once we finished the project, we paid 50,000 off on that, which we still have remaining from the project, but we weren't ready to go to bond yet because we didn't want to go to bond with just 750,000. So we were waiting for a couple of the other projects to be completed. So we kind of thought we were at that point right now, but that was what Matt Stawinski, our financial advisor, came in and said that we could go to bond right now, but his recommendation is to wait till 2027 to go to bond with these. And you don't usually pay them down until you go to bond. Now we have remaining amounts in these funds from these projects, money that wasn't used. It's not a huge significant amount, but it's at least a little bit that we are going to pay down in March 26, so that when we roll it to March 27, that note to March 27, we're not taking out as much debt.
All right, question on that. When I look at the bonds, I don't see any bonds. I've been here 3 years and I haven't put $1 toward a bond yet. Why is that normal to skip many years where we don't take debt on and fix things?
Well,
I'm not sure.
we had the ARPA money for a little bit, but these are the projects that we've been working on the past couple of years since you got here. The elevators, engineering, roof, stone building.
These are all notes. You said they're
And
1 year.
they're notes because the projects weren't completed yet. It took a while to get those completed. And we usually don't go to bond until we're pretty much completed with the project, just in case, if we need more money. And that's just how it's been done.
And even the Bartholomew County Auditor, the recommendations that Matt gave us when we all met, they factor in the fact that we are paying interest on these short-term notes, knowing that it's still a better deal for us to wait until those interest rates drop for the bonds.
And with these bonds that are falling off, I see there's a couple of them we paid off.
We will be paying off in 26.
Correct.
Mhm.
And that'll clear room, I guess, for these notes to be turned to bonds.
Yeah.
Should we, could we, would you recommend, does he recommend maybe some of these other capital projects we look at this year to put in the notes in the bond to replace the ones that are going to bond? Because we do have things that need fixed. We do have big projects like planning commission and things like that
It's a discussion that you guys will need to have, and we can also bring in Matt on that if you want us to.
I think we should, because if there's capital projects we're sitting on, it's only gonna get more expensive. Whether it be steps, whether it be
And
roofs, you need to look at that.
remember that with the OMAP, so we don't want to do anything, everything, we've already established what we're gonna do notes on, we're gonna just do, if that was what you guys had, I'm sorry, the board had said, we wouldn't be ready to do anything by March, and really, it's not just by March, it's really by like right now, because we have to do that whole OMAP
You start
program
that
to do the notes.
application next
that,
week.
that application. But if you choose to do something, you can use our own money to start it and then still borrow that money and replace it. So you can take some of that reserve and start a project. And then when it's time to go to note again next year, you can get the note, pay it back into the fund for what you've already spent. We passed a resolution, or sorry, the board passed a resolution in 2024 that allows us to do that. So you don't have to like, oh, we're gonna do a project now, we're gonna take a note right now. You can hold off taking the note until after you've started the project.
It saves us from doing multiple debt issuances a year and having cost issuances associated with each.
The only problem is when you borrow, you have to pay it back.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna come off the top.
And right,
It's
absolutely.
going to reduce our budget.
Great.
And
So we have to be cautious with that.
Sure.
I mean, it's easy to borrow, it's just a little tough to pay
And
back.
we're not recommending that. I'm just explaining your honor.
we're just giving, for us right here today, our goal was just to give you the amount that was available to be appropriated so that you guys can start on the budget process. And we're just providing the debt schedules as informational. We're not,
And we got a lot of good questions.
Are there any further questions? All right.
No, but I would say with this commissioners, I think one thing I'd like to recommend we do in the next couple of months is start initiating getting rid of Chestnut Building.
I've been saying that.
And let's sell it for debt or something. Why have it sit there, be an asset that's dwindling away? Let's move.
Brought that up 2 months, 3 months ago. It's ridiculous.
10 months ago.
Huh? You brought it up last year.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. We brought it up. Let's start doing that.
Because my understanding that we're waiting on Porterville to get back to us on that. And we've talked to him. I've talked to him 2 or 3 times. You haven't.
Listen,
Even the other-
we need to just get it
He said he would
estimated
buy
what
it.
it's worth. Put it up and off it.
Yeah, but I thought he said that he would take it, he would buy it from us. I thought.
Port Authority?
Yeah.
Well, let's call.
Because they can buy it and
List it for
lease it that
sale.
way, and then they can sell it.
Chestnut?
They don't have to go through the same thing that we do.
Can we get a reasonable amount of money from them for it, or does it be better to market somewhere?
Hey, it's another way. Well, they would know fair market value. Nick?
Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Planning Commission Commissioners, generally what happens with the Port Authority is they will take ownership and they enter into an agreement with you to share the proceeds once they sell the building minus their costs. So if they have to do any kind of improvements, updates, but they are not required to go out to bid, as the way the commissioners are. They can find somebody and sell it directly for economic development purposes, which allows them to get a better fair market value sometimes. And also allows them to specifically find someone that's looking for that building rather than you put it out to public bid. So it gives them better options for selling it faster. And you generally, when you give it to them, will not get money directly. You will have to wait until they actually sell that and then you share in the proceeds of that sale.
But to answer Commissioner Malloy's question, how do we know how much that building is worth?
I think you would have to do an appraisal.
Can we task our economic development director to initiate this process with us with the Port Authority?
No, but it's an official appraisal for real estate, okay.
So for every one of our buildings, commissioners, Alex, Stephen, Jensen Bush, Human Resources Department. This is where, remember I met with Corsa on 12/18. I have a 600-page document for you. For all of our buildings to be insured, they have to be appraised. Our third, so it's triannual. Our third year was just up. The appraisers just came through. They went to every single building in this county that you own. I have a spreadsheet started for you guys. I'm working with Daryl to add to that spreadsheet. It'll also tell you what condition, general condition your roofs are in, what general condition big ticket capital improvement items are in. So what him and I are doing is working together to merge that database to give the Board of Commissioners an informed, lovely one-stop shop where not only is it just your buildings, it's actually your vehicles, it's your boats, it's everything that is under the Board of Commissioners needs, including but not limited to drones, things that we don't even think of. So county HR works to ensure all that every year, and part of getting it insured is that we have to make sure it's the most up-to-date cost.
Right, but is that insurance value or is that fair market value?
So, I mean, you have to look at both. There's about 85 different options on there. So it'll tell you what you need to know.
So you can get us that figure.
So it's also based off of property value to answer your question. So it's multiple. So remember, we just were reevaluated for property. That's why we saw a spike in our increase. I talked to the board about this last year when we did the Corsa. So there's 3 buckets for Corsa. There's property, there's auto, and then there's errors and omissions, which is our general liability. Our property insurance went up last year, and we're going to see that increase even more off of additional. So I have all that ready for you. I will also give you the options when we're ready to choose between historic values. Remember, we talked about that as well. Commissioner Hernandez, you were right. Very minimal, the difference between going ahead and just insuring it to be like the full value, prehistoric value versus doing less than. To me, it makes more sense, but it's your decision ultimately.
And Corsa is looking at that differently this year, and we just met about that. They do want you to make an informed choice that you will have to sign off on, saying, yes, these 3 things are historical, and we would rather do the upcharge and have them restored back to historic value versus taking the risk of having liability and not restoring it back to historical value and then potentially getting into some liability further down the road. So all of those things are being covered.
Thank you, Alex.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, just get us that one number as soon as you can. At least that'll give us a general idea.
Actually, I can.
And like I said, Nick's already initiating now the tech support authority. He's our economic development director, and I think we tasked him. Get with the port and start initiating at least movement towards that.
Yeah, I mean, we've all talked to Anthony about it. It's just probably, he's probably so busy that he just forgot about it. He said, okay, but, all right, Nick, now it's on you.
Take the money and run.
Yeah, because it's costing us money.
Oh, and we're doing insured.
I mean,
I'm sure it's raising our insurance. It's an extra building they got to insure.
Didn't we do the downstairs?
We did. We remodeled the downstairs fully.
I thought so. I thought that was done. So.
The base.
Yeah.
Commissioners, excuse me.
Alex, they know that we did the downstairs too, don't they? Of course, I mean.
I mean, they walked with
Okay.
Franklin and Daryl.
Okay,
too.
good.
They actually came on site and walked through every single
Okay.
location. Yeah.
Okay. Do we know yet how much horses need for the year, or did we guesstimate pretty low?
So, I mean, I just got that our property is gonna increase, this number is, I'm really not ready to talk about all that.
No,
just
it's
yet.
fine. If
but-
you wouldn't mind, if you would just send it to me, just so I can input it into Munis.
I mean, I know we're gonna have an increase, because our increased value
Okay.
in property alone is 78,294,860. Yeah. So commissioners, when I tell you we got reappraised, I mean, we got reappraised. So I promise you, this work is all being done behind the scenes. And this is something that we manage on a
We
daily
asked for a reduction and stuff.
What I can tell you is, so using the current property rate, but
Did you get that?
All right, please.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Using the current property rate, your premium would be going up 58,000.
Okay.
Current.
Okay.
However, that is a best guess. As we
I
know with
know.
insurance, things can, what if 5 more property claims?
I
get
just
put
want to
in?
be
You know what I mean?
closer
I
than
don't
what
know.
we were this past year, because that was a
Agreed.
total, oh my gosh.
Now, I will tell you, when it comes to errors in omission, I'll reiterate this
I
about,
know.
we have more and
It's
more
okay.
lawsuits that continue to come. So while some
That
went away,
affects it.
we're on a 7-year tail lag. So for every lawsuit that comes in, any elected official, I want to be very clear on that, because it's not fair to kind of pinpoint one, it's across the board. It can be a wrongful death suit. It can be, there's multiple types of errors and omissions and general liability that we cover in this county, including other boards, not just the Board of Commissioners, but children's services, so on and so forth. There's other boards that we insure. So it's a very big undertaking, to say the least. But we know property will go up. Auto probably will slightly go up, because we have had a couple more upticks in accidents and total cars this year than what, I can't believe I say that, but I know of 5 off the top of my head, so. Yeah,
We have more since we did.
yep, we have 2 more coming. So,
So every time there's an accident, is our office notified?
so I mean, I notify through Corsa, like that's the,
No, do you have, are we notified? So we probably should be notified, right?
I mean,
Is that what you're saying?
put in an insurance claim, so it does, we do, once we get the money
No,
back.
no, I mean, once you're told that there was an accident. Then I think Cheryl wants to know, so she can let us know.
Yeah.
That vehicle is no longer in service, or what's going on.
That's no problem.
I think we have to know that, right?
We should, yeah, we should, because we might have to come up with another car.
And that's if I get told.
Right, no.
Yeah,
So
sometimes.
I was trying not to
Well,
talk about that,
That
but
brings me to another question.
I'm telling you,
What's the procedure when there's an accident?
there's a vehicle policy, and it is very clear.
So
You are
if someone's
supposed to be
not
human
adhering
resources.
to that, we need to know.
Absolutely, and that's what we're in the process of writing. There's multiple coming your way.
Right.
As there have been, you just may not have seen them yourself just yet, but we have had others who have not reported accidents correctly. not only does not reporting accidents correctly hit our insurance, it could be workers' comp related too. Keep that in mind. An employee could be hurt. If you are skirting policies and procedures about workers' comp or about vehicle, it all affects not just workers' comp, not just our health insurance claims too, because obviously they're hurt and they're going to the hospital, but it's also driving up our workers' comp money, our property and errors and omissions and insurance. It all works together, and HR truly does work very closely and go with Corsa on all of that, and CCAO and so on and so forth. So, but going back to Chestnut, yeah, so we have actual cash value, replacement value, property, so all of that's listed here for you nicely. I can find that. Should go to my
What did they assess the property? Well, that's tax.
yeah,
Is it?
so
Yeah, you go by estimated.
give me 1 second. It should be in alphabetical order, I think. Like I said, this is taking.
That's a lot of things. Well, you can get that after this one.
Absolutely.
Okay. You guys have anything else?
I have one more thing. Please review the applications that you were given for board members.
How many are up? That's what we needed to know. We got the applications, we don't know how many seats are up.
It says on the notices that are in the packets.
I don't think I had something.
I glanced at it, I didn't look at it, that's what I agree with.
Okay,
We'll look at it, if not, you can find it.
okay, all right.
We'll find it. I have one other thing I break up. Last year, we talked about having a meeting with our department heads. I think if we're still on tune to do that, I think we need to do that sooner than later.
Before budget.
Well, before we get into the year, let them know what we expect of them and the reporting and what we're doing differently. I thought the meeting was much more informative today with the clerk doing it. That way, when we ask the question, she'll have the answer. Okay, and I think it streamlines everything, and I think we're all going in the right direction, and we all talked about doing it. So I just think we need to let them know what the process is, you know. If you want to meet, if you want to be on the agenda, look at this. We knew exactly who was going to be on the agenda. So you have to call into the clerk and notify her. She lets us know. You know, and we're working in the right direction.
Yeah.
More work for you, but I mean, you know. So if we're gonna have a meeting, we should let her know what dates are available. Let's get it scheduled. Let's get it over.
Yeah, I'd say next Tuesday or next Wednesday afternoon, we're here.
Let me
About
look
1
and
o'clock.
see what's going on
Yeah,
with your schedules.
And the way I'm gonna do it is, if someone calls me for a meeting, I'm gonna have them call into the clerk. And so she can set the time in the meeting with everybody, so we're all on the same page, so I don't have to say, well, yeah, you can come in next week when nobody else is available. We'll all run it through the clerk's office. If
I
that's
mean,
okay.
really, Dawn's gonna know,
Well, whoever, yeah,
as far as the calendar.
but at
goes.
least you'll know what's going on.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, we do have an update from the Dog Pound Advisory Committee. Managed to representing them today.
Amanda Adair, I'm on the Pound Advisory Committee.
You wanna come to the table?
Thank you. So, real quick before I give you that update, it was, brought to my attention this morning, actually, that, there was a complaint made against me, for a private post that I had made. And I just wanted to address it. It was a post, on my private social media.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to address that, do we?
Well, it was in regards, it was said that
Yeah, but it wasn't
I
brought to the
wouldn't
board.
be.
It wasn't
Oh,
brought
it
to
wasn't said that, it just said that.
It wasn't brought to the board, but I don't want to get into personal Facebook.
Posts. There's been enough
You
of
know, I
them.
mean, what do you think, Mr. Danzo? I mean, do we want to open that can?
I don't know I don't know what it is. I don't know if it relates to county business.
I don't think it does.
Oh, but it does.
Well, you're you're on
The timing of it.
you're on an advisory panel and I didn't see it, so I don't know anything about it. So
Okay, all right, that's fine.
I mean, I think that's more.
I just think the timing is quite ironic,
Well-
but that's fine. So our next meeting is gonna be on January 18th at 3:30 PM. We're gonna be meeting firstly at McDonald's on Parkman Road. Hopefully we'll be talking to the architect, and then we'll be going over to Jason's for a little while that day. However, before our next meeting, we do
What's the
have,
Architect and partner Jason's for what?
so we have questions about, some of the designs. So we're gonna talk to the architect since he made the designs. And then, Jason had asked us to come over to his property to look at his layout. So we'll be going over there as well. But before that next meeting, we have some questions that we actually need addressed so that we have a better understanding of what our role is and what we can and cannot do.
Well, my opinion is we're in the process of
Well,
hiring.
may I?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm just.
So there are a few questions. Thank you. I appreciate it. Has the county considered taking out a loan? And if so, what would the timeline be on that? If county loans are not being considered, is the expectation that the entire project would be fully funded through private fundraising? If fundraising is expected, what financial commitment is the county prepared to make up front? And is there a max dollar amount that the county is willing to contribute? And what happens if fundraising falls short? So these are the types of questions that we need to know before we have our next meeting, because we can't move forward without having these questions answered.
Well, I'm only one commissioner, but first of all, we're in the process of hiring a dog warden and assistant dog warden. And I think before we get into any of those questions, we need those two people on board.
You asked for
You
us.
asked me my opinion, I'm giving you my opinion.
Okay, well, I'll wait and have a word about that.
And are you the designated chairman of that committee?
We have not set up a chairman. We are all equal. Apparently, we're going to
So
be.
anyway, I don't want to get in putting the cart before the horse, like it's been done for many years, where we've had 2 or 3 designs out there that's been paid for. And all they're doing is they're on a shelf somewhere, okay? I think we need to get in place our dog warden, our assistant dog warden, and have them sit down with us and let us all sit down and say, this is how we're gonna move forward. You want me to give you a commitment on where we're gonna get the money and how much money we're gonna have there. You just sat here and heard that, we gotta get through the budget first.
Well, Commissioner, I guess just in defense, we as a board did create an advisory board and we did task them to meet to discuss things. And maybe we didn't give clear enough instructions of what they're supposed to be meeting about or when, but we do know they have met a few times. And if they're meeting on our behalf, that we told them to meet and do things, there are some things that I guess maybe we need to steer. We never told them, hey, wait, pause, time out until we hire a new dog warden. We never did that. Now, of course, we set a meeting up when the previous dog warden, who was still on that committee, was still employed with us, but we never gave any advice to them afterwards. So I don't blame her or the committee for doing what we told them to do. Either way. So I just want to clear that up.
I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying, we don't have the money, we have other projects that we have to do, okay? And I can't sit here and tell you how much you should do or you shouldn't do. Okay, only thing I'm gonna tell you is we have 2 previous designs that are sitting in there on the shelf and possibly a third one now coming along.
No, so far, we are fairly okay with the designs. And we're still discussing location, which are things that you asked us to do, so that's what we've been doing. Okay. However, if we need to adjust things, because roughly that project was set at like roughly $4 million. I went through and cut out almost $100,000 just in like furniture, window treatments, landscaping would save $82,500. If we have certain items donated, would save another $7,500. So we've been putting the work in, but again, these are things that would have to be discussed with the architect, make sure that they are viable. So we are trying to save money, but If we can only cap off at 2 million and we're currently at 4 million, then we got to figure out a lot more that we can cut back on. So this is why we're asking, what is our budget? And actually, I know things are tight, but unfortunately, the Board of Commissioners does have to provide us with a new building. There are 4 different sections of the ORC that say that you have to do it. 95515, it's the Board of Commissioners' responsibility to provide a suitable place for impounding dogs and make sure proper provision for feeding and caring for the same. 3781.06, any building has to be maintained in a safe and sanitary for its intended use. 4101.11 and 12, it's the duty of the employer to protect the employees and the frequenters. Right now, our current pound isn't safe, and we all know that. And we all know that we need a new one. No one wants to take out a loan. No one wants to go get a home loan or a car loan or anything. But these are things that we do as adults because they're things that have to be taken care of for ourselves. And unfortunately, this is something that the county has to do, preferably sooner rather than later, because I've been asking for this for what, 5, 6 years? And how many people asked for it for years before that? You were talking like earlier that stop kicking the can. That's all we're asking. And we're asking for some direction on which way you would like for us to do that. Do you need us to, work on a budget? Do you need us to help to fundraise? Are you trying to get us to fundraise at all? We need to know what direction we need to go in so that we can make proper recommendations for you.
Well, and we appreciate the work that the committee's doing. I would agree with Commissioner Bernard that we don't have a word yet. That kind of, Michelle had exited and it kind of threw a wrench into some things at the moment. My suggestion, like Commissioner Bernard, would be to let us get through the process of the hiring of the warden, looking at the assistant's position, continue to do what you're doing.
But we can't. We are at a standstill. The last 2
Okay,
times that
well-
we've talked, we cannot move forward
Amanda,
without knowing some of these
Can
things.
you,
I don't think we have the answer to that.
can you,
Well, that's what we're asking
Well,
for you to figure out.
we're gonna have to take some time and see.
You've taken 2 years.
I don't
We
think
understand.
because I haven't been here 2 years.
Well, you've been in here. This is now your 2nd year.
I think,
So what do you want me to do? You want me to go in debt for
What's
$4 million?
No, that's why we're asking you to
Okay,
figure out a
and it's just saying
budget.
to have- you know,
so that way
we
we
have to
can
have
figure it out.
patience and we have to have a plan. Try to get that in order when we get a new dog board in here, okay?
So my question is, what does one have to do with the other? We are an advisory committee to look at the plans and the budgeting for a new building. What does that have to do with an executive or an assistant warden?
Because I think
Excuse
we
me,
need some input from you.
Amanda, you're not recording, are you?
On my own phone. It's a public meeting.
You're not on Facebook.
No, they delete live after 30 days now.
again, Amanda, the committee, if the committee wants to continue to meet, give us an opportunity. I'm speaking in one commissioner, but I agree with Commissioner Bernard.
I agree.
That, and Commissioner Malloy, that we would like to get through the process. We spent many hours interviewing, so our minds right now are consumed with the direction of, the executive warden and the assistant. From there, to get a nice grip on what those individuals are seeing and then move forward with, and I'm not ruling it out, what we're looking to do as far as financing it or whether we have capital expenditure monies to do it. However, we're consumed right now with that process of.
So should we just suspend meetings for the time being?
Well, I was going to say that maybe if you wanted to meet and let the board know where we're at with it. I know it's not what you want to hear, but at least you could tell them that, once we get through that process, that we will move forward and make then more discussion about moving forward with, the facility, the location.
then why need us? If you're going to do it with
Well-
the new board and the new assistant, do you want us to disband?
No, no,
Wait.
we still want that committee to be together. You have Michelle on there and you have others that have very valid points about what you just pointed out. So,
But I understand her point too. Are they supposed to be talking about looking at properties? Are they supposed to be looking at needs? Are they supposed to be looking at budgets? What are they supposed to be doing? The one question I have, just independently as a commissioner, we did do some votes that are on record with passport as far as the location of Vienna. Do we own that property or do we just have
Yes, we are.
a memorandum of understanding? And we actually own the property for the purpose of putting a dog pound? Did we vote on that?
Yes.
That this is the property for the dog pound? We would have to retract if we did something different. We need to look at what is already concrete fact and what is not. Before we reinvent the wheel to do something different, we need to put all the facts on the table so they understand and our board understands. I don't remember all of it either myself. Another commissioner handled a lot of that, and a lot of that was initiated before I got here, even before I got there, as far as that whole lease deal and stuff was all before me. So,
They gave us the property. It's ours. They
okay.
donated.
And those are things, I guess, maybe as a board, the three of us, as we get into this too, we need to understand all that too. Are we legally bound? We own the property that we're paying taxes on, or we are gonna have to maintain or do something with, I would imagine, right now, that we may or may not use.
So as of right now, like we're still leaning towards the land because we already own the land. But that doesn't mean that we're not doing our due diligence, like you asked us to look at other properties. But considering the designs are for that parcel in Vienna, the land is already owned, free and clear by the county. It does seem like the most economical option at the moment. But, I mean, we are doing as you asked and looking at other
Amanda, when
options.
you said you're meeting with an architect, which one?
The one that drew up the design.
You are?
Yeah.
He's meeting with
Can
you.
you?
He's meeting with you?
Well, he was gonna do it, Jason knows him too, so he was just gonna call and we were to that when we met on Sunday and just, have a phone conference with them.
Oh, okay.
Now, when we talk about you shaved off, it's a pretty substantial amount. Is there anything that can be shaved off of the materials on the exterior?
Well, that's what we need to talk to the architect
This is what I
about.
would, if you're gonna
Because-
talk to the architect, personally, me speaking.
See, we gotta check that too, because you talk to an architect, he might be thinking the county's footing the bill. He's not
Oh, well.
advising and consulting for free.
Well, there's another thing.
To give authorization to bill us.
You
Well,
gotta be
see,
careful
that's
with
the,
that.
well, that's why we're doing.
We ended up paying
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's why Jason's just doing a conference call because
But they can still charge you for that.
Like a lawyer, yeah. If they're consulting, they're talking.
if they charge it, I'll pay for it. I really don't care at this point. It's fine.
Well, no, that won't work that way.
But because you actually have a very valid point, like, because as of right now, the design's up and down, up and down. So we do want to ask, roughly how much would it save to do like just a traditional sloped roof as opposed to that, or doing a flat front facade. So we do want to ask and see how much that money or how much money that would save us in the long run, roughly. And I know that he can only give us guesstimates.
And I don't even think you give a guesstimate without a price tag attached to it.
they got to
We should
jump
do
on
too.
it.
But we also have to figure that out too, because he might not, but we don't know until the 18th when we talk to him. But if you want us to wait until you guys get your situation handled down here, we'll do that. But that's going to put the project behind even more, which means that inflation continues to go up every day. So, I mean, it's up to you.
Well, my plan, we have to have a plan and we have to have a direction before we go out there and spend any more money. Okay?
Well, that's what we're asking
And that to me is having some input with the new dog warden. To sit down with the commissioners and probably your board. Let's have a chat session, and everybody, look at what we're having. When I talked to Michelle before she left, she indicated to me that a lot of the costs on the present project could be cut and should be cut. Okay, and I, without really looking at the detailed plans, I kind of believe that. I don't think we can afford a $4 million dog warden. Okay, I don't think we can afford that. Okay, my concern is that we have something that will work for the animals. I don't really care what it looks on the outside, it's what's on the inside and how functional it is for the animals. I think that's what we
That's good
want,
to know.
right? Right.
Well, that's
But-
good to
but-
know,
But we
because
have
then
to, you know, this is our first meeting of the year. We have budgets we have to get through, and to come in here and say, give me a price, I don't think we can do that. Okay, because if I give you a price and then you're gonna say, well, you told me we could spend 3 million, and when we say, well, we only have 1.5 million, then you're gonna say, well, you told us 3 million. I can't honestly give you a price because I don't have the price.
I'd rather you lowball it, and then we could always do better later on. Then
I'm trying to tell you very honestly, I want some input from our new dog warden. Because he may have some better ideas or some different ideas, and that's, you know, what's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I mean, we've waited 50 years. The dog pound's been needed to take care of for 50 years. And I'm not gonna rush into it and do it wrong, because I think that's what the county's track record is.
well, the 7 of us are trying to do it right, and you put us on the committee for a reason.
Well, but just have
Because
some
we
patience,
know-
but have some patience.
Because we know what we need over here. And no offense to the new person coming in, I hope that the new executive and assistant are wonderful people. But they're not, most likely not Trumbull County people that probably don't know our specific area and our situation. Everywhere is different. So the pound in Mahoney County is like different than what it would be in Trumbull County. It's different in Columbiana County. It's different in Cleveland. It's different in Columbus. These are things that the 7 of us know. And
But why would
you're,
you want to have a conversation with them?
because
I think to solve all this, commissioners, maybe we should have them put a pause on things until we get organized ourselves. And we appreciate just not disband them. Pause things till we get people in order. We may want to add these people onto the committee and then move forward when we have better direction for them. Because right now, I don't want them doing work that could cost money for one or waste time that they have to go and redo later with different people. I mean, we're not in the business of wasting people's time.
I agree, but I still think that the new dog warden has to be involved in it.
I understand.
It-
But we did not tell them anything different. They were just moving ahead as we told them to do. So I don't want to fault anybody here on this. I just want to say, let's now say we want to add those people when they come, and then we'll move forward after that. When we had the water advisory committee, we tasked them and said, go look at water rates. Here's what we want you to do. We gave them kind of what we want you to do, a charge of what we want. With this board, I don't think we gave them that charge. We kind of left it, loosen it of
Well, some things.
for their own interpretation.
Right.
And that's our fault. That's all.
Well, but it's not totally our fault. I mean, we lost the dog.
Yeah,
We-
some
we-
things happen in the department.
Well, it's our fault for not when that happened, not keeping tabs to say, hey, hold up, time out. Let's
Well,
regroup.
yeah, because honestly, we didn't know if we were supposed to be looking at design, start working on fundraising. We didn't know what we were supposed to, so we just kind of covered the whole gambit. And we worked on it all because the 7 of us worked well together.
Yeah, and continue to do that, but like Commissioner Malloy said, I would agree, and I agree that we should have the dog warden position filled and even maybe possibly the assistant, but keep the board together. But I think that maybe pause it and let us get through that, and that way you're not exhausting your resources and we're not burning you out, so to speak. We don't want to burn the committee out. But this is where we're at. The wrench got thrown in with Michelle's exit. So this is our concentration now. So I would say that would be a good idea to just put it on hold, give it a few weeks. And if later on down the road, we can incorporate, whomever into that with the commissioners and maybe have a meeting to discuss direction.
So do you just want us to reschedule, or do you just want us to wait completely? How soon are you looking at?
Well, I would say give it at least a month, right?
Okay,
I would hold off about a month
so
because I think we're gonna need
not
that
till
amount of
like
time.
March-ish.
Right?
And once the new dog warden is his name, we'll give him your committee's numbers and he'll contact you guys and he can set up an initial meeting and then we'll set one up with us.
Okay, all right, I will let everyone know.
Okay. And again, we appreciate what you're doing. It's just that we need to, this has been a long process. I know that.
I think, if I may, Alex, Stephen Jones, Human Resources Department, I've just been reading, right? However, I will say, at the time, what the key is having the dog, whoever the dog warden is. The dog warden was on that committee at that time. The dog warden did choose to leave, obviously just recently, and we got on the ball ASAP, got the jobs posted, got things moving as fast as we could. First set of interviews we did the week literally of Christmas, 2 days before Christmas. We came back and we started with a second round, and we're still moving on those things right now. But to help you truly, because the intent was always to have the dog warden or be the connection between the panel, advisory panel, and the board of commissioners. With that absence of that person, there was definitely a wrench thrown into things. So I think the board wasn't even sure yet what the direction is. And I will also be honest and transparent with everybody. Hopefully everybody is, there's some things that we're even finding out through the interview process and through conversations with employees. We're getting our hands dirty as well. We're getting down in there and learning things. Maybe we could be doing things a little bit differently, more efficiently, more effectively. Maybe we can gain some cost savings there. Maybe we can figure out the proper staffing levels, whether we have it, don't have it, whatever it's going to be. But that's HR's niche. Board of
And
Commissioners has been very
maybe we
helpful.
need to redesign some of that if we're gonna do some things differently that
We
we're,
could
as she said,
possibly-
we're finding out a lot of things during
Yes.
these interviews,
Yes.
okay? Which can help everything.
All the
And
way
that's
to the
why you
funding
need to
sources,
plan.
believe it or not. So
Right.
So these designs were actually built with intake flow in mind. So I know that so when an animal comes in, it has to be intaked, right? Which means that, you get the animal's general information. You get the animal's general information, where it was picked up at, it gets vaccinated, weight, information, et cetera, et cetera. So with these designs.
Yeah.
With these designs, that whole flow was taken into consideration. So there's an Sallyport intake area, and then there's, we're looking at a quarantine area for the animals for when they first come in. So they would be, in case they would have anything, that they would be other animals, and then they would go over to general population. So everything was built with a flow of, with a flow design.
the process.
Yes, thank you. So everything was, but there's things like up front, like in the human area, where we could make, like, everyone does individual offices, like things like that. So like, that's where we were looking more at, like, the cost savings, potentially. But as far as like the back, and this is why, not to sound, this is what you need us, because these are the things that we're knowledgeable in. But like, there are things up front where we're looking mostly at the cost savings. And this is what you asked the 7 us to do, and this is what we're doing. So I understand that it's not your wheelhouse, and that's perfectly fine. And this is why you asked us to do it. So we believe that you're going to trust us when we tell you things.
And I don't disagree. I think what they're just asking is, let us replace that connection of the actual dog warden who could be the conduit between the two. Because right now we're definitely missing a big piece of the puzzle, in my personal opinion. However, even having Michelle still on the panel, but unfortunately, she's not in the official capacity of dog warden anymore.
Right.
So the board needs to be comfortable with the decision that they're heading in. And I do fully anticipate that once you make your decisions, that will be one of the first tasks for the new incoming, is to reach out to this advisory panel.
He or she gets their feet wet first. The operation is critical right now.
Oh, right now it's
been without any direction.
Yeah.
All right, so that's fine. I will let everyone know that we're going to hold off because we're going to wait on answers. We're going to most likely
We're gonna
wait.
wait on a new dog warden to be named, and then he will contact you. He or she
That would
will
be
contact you.
answers to our questions. Yes, thank you.
But we do intend on moving very quickly with all this, with that, I mean, there's a process we have to go through.
That's fine. All right, I will let everyone know.
Hiring the dog warden is the first part.
Oh, and also, we are doing everything according to, like, with sunshine laws and everything. So everything will be on a recording flash drive if anyone like were to like submit a public records request or everything. So yeah, we're doing that too, just in case someone asks for it. Okay. All right.
Anything else?
Well, Ms. Price got herself quite a lesson in government here today. You should get extra credit for today, without a doubt.
You have any comments? What do you
You
think?
deserve a 4.0. And everything.
So I think it was definitely beneficial to come to, and thank you for allowing me to sit in.
Well, you may even want to get some of Raymond's notes over there.
Or help him write the story.
You might want to get some of your notes.
Yeah. She may be meeting with the guidance council afterwards saying anything with government.
Oh, no, it's just about one of the birthdays. Thank you very much.
So, nothing else? Do you have anything? Peter?
Commissioners, I just asked to discuss some other things with you, informational only, and I would ask that building, so.
After the meeting?
Yes, please, since we're here.
Um,
And then just so you know, Chestnut cost is, we have that here, so they do break it down by cash value, replacement cost, personal property, so it's a really, really nice tool. So we have those answers for you whenever you're ready, and like I said, I'm gonna put it into a spreadsheet, so it's a lot easier than having to flip through, which are not alphabetical, so I'm gonna have to work on that too.
Ridiculous.
But this is including all your property in the open, this is including land, this is including the EWL that was deeded to us, that's how we know that it's ours, it is deeded to us, it's ours now, we insure it. All of those things, guys, okay? This also includes every water pump, every, I can't even go, I get Mosquito Creek, every little, yeah, everything.
Nice. Right.
Before I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Do you entertain the motion or does, I don't know if the president does.
No, I know before I would. On our new agenda where they contact the clerk and let us know that they're gonna come in and talk, how do we handle just what happened?
I don't see that.
See, that's what we're gonna have to,
That's been an issue.
right?
And that going forward, that should be something that should be scheduled in advance, because that was a committee that's just.
I didn't wanna say that now.
And
I didn't wanna get
Do
into
you
it.
remember when I told the individuals that were from China or wherever they were from? But they still showed up. You remember?
Yes,
And-
like
and-
Connector,
Because
this
it's
is
a
And
showing
it was
up,
ridiculous.
talking.
But these
And
were,
we have to just
these
do that.
really were not public
Yeah,
meetings. or
I agree.
anything. These were workshops to go over the agenda.
I agree. I think it's because that, yes,
So
so
I-
there's been an
I think we're
evolution.
gonna have.
But now they've become the.
We're gonna have
Now
to
they've become
address that,
facts.
because, that's, it could happen
But
next
we don't
week.
have to take comments.
So that's not,
If
that
it's
was
not part of the agenda. we
If
don't
they
have
have
to.
not
That's what I was
contacted
gonna
you
say.
and
Well, I
make
think
make
we
an
addressed,
announcement
I
that
think we addressed that when we have our department heads meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll just put everything out, just gonna let everybody know, these are the rules.
And that can be advertised on your, everything's on the Trumbull County Commissioners. It's up to the board if you choose. You don't want public comments at the workshop, so be it. But
Well, I don't mind public workshop, I just don't want to.
if it's not scheduled,
Right,
yeah.
I don't want to get into it.
I think things like that should be scheduled in advance unless the commissioner brings someone in last minute for some reason. We need to update the other two commissioners. I could see that circumstance. We do have the public comment during the regular meeting. I don't want to waste Wednesdays in public on needless things that are logistics, things that we could handle in a workshop. But then again, if
But
it's
that was
presentation.
just
and
a
stuff-
simple
that was
question.
I understand. That's an advisory board that should have scheduled just like if
100%.
if Rex City was in here, I wouldn't want to just show up and say, hey, I'm here to give you an update. That should be scheduled. I agree 100%.
Okay, so we just need to set those guidelines.
Right, and we didn't really set that publicly until today, that we're going in a different direction for the world to know.
And then also, just for the record, while I'm here, even when other department heads, elected officials, it may have something to do, but I'm not prepared to talk to it because I haven't been involved. So even what happened today, if I was respectfully asking I need to talk with the board first about what the board's direction is. Yes, although I'm HR for the entire county, there are nuances, and I saw a lot of people make a lot of faces and do things, but there's also two sides to every story.
Right.
And you do need to be fully informed. You choose whatever you want thereafter, your choice completely. However, you need to have all the facts provided to you. That is what so even when those people present, I didn't know what was, and then you're asking me questions, and that's unfair to me as a department head. I mean, it is.
Well, here's how I feel about it. like
Name,
Sheriff Taylor, Commissioner's Office.
Oh, sorry.
That stuff should never be, you should never be blindsiding
No.
somebody.
And
You
sometimes there's a
literally need
personnel conversation.
Exactly, and I don't feel that that is correct for a public, there's some things that are administrative that should not be discussed.
Absolutely.
And that's, it's as simple as that.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel for people too. Would you
Same.
want those conversations
No.
being had publicly about? I mean, there's some things that we don't have a choice on, but executive sessions exist for a reason and/or advisory conversations exist for a reason. You're not making decisions, you're getting
No.
information.
It's information,
Correct.
administrative decisions need to be made, and there's not one company out there that has everything, yes, I'm just being honest. Forthcoming.
well, we're getting better, hopefully.
We are.
We're getting a lot better.
We don't want to hinder,
No, no one wants.
we don't want to hinder the public's involvement or open, you know, keeping things open, but at the same time, we need to control.
It's not about
In a more manageable.
about that at all.
I think it's more controlling the department heads and those people than it is the public. I mean, I don't have a problem with the public, it's the department heads and come in, like Sheriff said, they blindside us and they want an answer right now.
I mean, I
without giving us any information.
I'll be fully transparent, commissioners. I have felt more blindsided in these meetings than I can even tell you, and it is frustrating.
We all.
How are we supposed to prepare to have conversations? And another thing too, I think it misconstrues people's perceptions of others. Some people get mad at others thinking she knew that I didn't know. No, a lot of times, let's not assume negative intent. Let's assume that we truly didn't know because we're sitting over there doing what we're supposed to be doing, and a lot of other things are going on. Okay, we got to work together. It's 2026. Let's
That's why we're trying to refine this.
Yes.
And I thought it went excellent up to the last point. You know, and we'll get better at it. It's just that whatever rules we set, we're gonna have to keep them in place. And let everybody know.
Okay, so with that in mind, I make a motion to adjourn.
I will second your motion.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.